We have a good friend that has a 2.5-year-old and a 4-year-old, and we met him in church. He said, next time I come, I'm gonna have to meet you whistle.
My mother-in-law buys the dumbest stuff, and it's always noisy. And I always tell her, that's staying at grandma's.
I had 3 little boys, and my stepdaughter, when we went to the zoo, she bought them each a sword. It was sharp as heck. I said, what are you doing? I said, these kids are gonna kill themselves.
Or each other.
Yeah,
Oh, dang it.
thinning the herd.
Thank you very much. Let's, give them some more opportunity.
My siblings and I, we kinda had this unwritten agreement where birthdays and Christmas and stuff like that, like if you got a niece or nephew, a noisy thing, it's gonna come back tenfold.
Yep. That's how it is with my sister too.
You'd be surprised how many books and shirts that were.
We've gotten nice to each other. We just give each other's kids, cash and then a bag of candy.
Uh-huh. I don't know how good the big candy would be, but.
I had
Oh,
8
sure.
brothers.
Sure.
A lot of us were within a year of each other,
Not,
right?
no. Then who's
We
the,
got in many, many
who
fights.
splits the vote?
We had an unwritten,
If it ends up in a tie,
never was
it
spoken.
The treasurer?
Never hit anybody in the face with a fist.
ends up in a tie, it has to go to
Only
the next
happened
meeting.
one time.
One time.
I thought there was,
One and done.
That's if it's vacated, if a seat is vacated.
oh.
My younger brother and sister are about 2 years apart.
Yeah.
My sister's the youngest.
Go to the next meeting. Oh,
I
really?
think they were about 4 and 6, 5 and 7, something like that. My brother was just tormenting her. She stands up and she's, "Do you think
wait
girls
here,
can
so-
fight?" And she punched him right
But
on the
he's
chin.
looking at his clock.
He left her alone for about 10 minutes.
I know.
It's called awakening.
I think he was more stunned than anything, but.
Saggy password to
My
adjust.
older sister,
I think you just need a pattern.
when you're younger, girls are stronger. Your sister, a year older than me.
Where is he?
Heart changed later. You're in the midst of this.
My cousin's, the girl was a couple years older than the boy.
Well, good morning.
She used to just beat on him when they were younger.
Realize it?
And they just,
Got the flip flops on.
Yeah,
she's getting comfy.
Okay,
my day off.
And anyway, she's got him.
Your day off? What a way to spend your day off, huh?
Or whatever,
Had to
she's
use
sitting
time.
on him, and she's like, say uncle, say uncle. He can hardly read, and all he goes is, Jenny Craig.
He said what?
Jenny Craig.
No, he's 2 minutes off again.
Oh, she didn't like that at all.
Too much stuff going on.
What's that? Yeah. Between you and me, we're probably gonna be picture stuff over there.
Get our COVID barriers back up.
Oh.
Stay in your own space.
Morse code.
Was that no?
Must have been.
Uno momento.
Well, I could bribe them dinner or something.
Was it worth? Yeah.
Oh, that one made it in. Good morning.
Okay, I'll call the regular August 4th County Commission meeting to order. We have the agenda in front of us. Any changes to the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to add treasurer's report. It's the first full meeting of the month.
I did, just, you know, I did call Dawn and ask her if she wanted to be on, and she said no. So that's why I wasn't on.
Okay.
She wanted to already get to it at the next meeting.
I just talked to her, she's coming.
She's good, she's all right with it? Okay, so you wanna just add her under other business?
Okay, number
Three?
3 under other business and portfolio goes for.
at 11 o'clock right before our break. That doesn't matter, as long as we get her in there.
Yeah, we'll just do it
Fine.
on other business. Anything else? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Move to approve the agenda with the correction.
A second?
I'll second, go ahead.
Any other? Hearing none, Marvin?
Aye.
Travis?
Aye.
Liza?
Aye.
Wayne?
Aye.
Gene, aye. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the 27th, special meeting?
I'll move to approve.
I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Travis?
Aye.
Wayne?
Aye.
Liza?
Aye.
Marvin?
Aye.
Gene, aye. Review and approve bills.
Shannon?
Yes.
I never got my packet with this.
You didn't, so you didn't get any of your updated sheets?
Uh-uh.
Okay, let me go copy those for you.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Yep.
That happens in our route over there. I've done it, happened to me twice.
Has it?
Yeah.
Yeah, cause I kept looking and I'm like, oh, that should be coming pretty soon,
And
but.
when you get the packet, it'll be totally crunched and tore, it goes through Bismarck first and
And
then
then comes back.
gets lost, goes back to
Was there
Bismarck.
anything in there besides the budget sheets and your agenda?
Just the minutes and,
He
Mercer
gave us,
County
Yeah.
skilled nurses and,
Nurses and.
I think that was it.
Board of Appeals.
Yeah.
Yeah, the minutes. Okay. These anymore. And once again, any commissioner sees a bill they want to question, just point it out to me. Otherwise, I sign them as they come by. And we'll pull that one and hold it until we get an answer. And good morning.
Morning, Mr. Odegaard. Happy Wednesday to you.
They keep you busy over there?
You'll know tomorrow and Friday, right?
How's the transition going? Nothing you can't handle, right? Good.
Still comes to work, you mean?
There's a plus right there.
There's a plus.
Hasn't resigned yet.
What Steve Reiser always says, well, they're still showing up for work, I don't know.
You ever watch Office Space?
Yeah.
No, wait a minute, Professor, we fixed the glitch.
Here you go, my dear.
Thanks, Shannon.
You're welcome.
lots and stuff, we're just looking at the receipts and it says this discount global. Do you know what that is?
It's actually not a discount.
It's actually not,
adds on to
it adds on to,
How much is it?
well, do you want a percentage or, cause it varies with every transaction.
Oh, it's a fee that we pay?
Yeah. But it says discount to it.
Yeah,
Huh.
and that's added on.
Look, see if I can find it out for you.
Discount that we add on, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
does
since
that
we
make
don't pay
sense?
tax, we're just gonna add on a fee.
Right. Kind of a little pile this month.
Yeah.
That's
What is
okay.
it? Can you,
No, I see.
Bronson's bill says
Doable.
discount mobile and it adds.
Global.
Global.
Mobile?
Yep.
Global? You know what that is? Yeah. It actually adds money to the.
That should work.
$52.
Discount global. How much is it?
There's 8 of them at 409, shows,
It's a percentage on each transaction.
Yeah, cause it varies.
All right, that works, thanks, Mike. She'll call and check it out. I'm guessing we've always paid it?
I'm sure we have,
Yeah,
it's just, I just
just
noticed
never
it.
noticed it.
what's this? Built-in pillow?
Built-in.
Yeah, they have to do that so they don't suffocate each other and stuff.
Really?
Yeah. For safety reasons.
No, well, can't you just take the whole mattress and do the same thing?
It's strong
It's
enough.
harder.
Yeah.
It's harder, huh?
Mhm.
It's not as convenient?
Right. You can notice that a little quicker, I guess.
I guess they might not think of that real quick.
Yeah.
Be surprised what they think of. These are all stapled together, we've got
What is it for?
a bunch of different vouchers in here.
Just send it back in. Yeah, all the stuff.
You know, it's kinda like the safety people say, the reason there's a rule is because somebody did something stupid.
Somebody tried it.
Somebody tried it.
Or succeeded, actually.
Right.
Succeeded in doing it wrong?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I've done that a couple times.
Did you make it to the fair board meeting last night?
I did,
Who did?
I did.
Did ya?
How'd that go?
It started out all right, and then when they started yelling at each other, I'm like, well, I'm going home to feed my kid.
Uh-oh.
I think I talked to all of them yesterday.
I talked to a couple of them.
I didn't make it.
Even Andrews was in on it.
And it's all about like a receipt or not, lack thereof. I'm like, how much we talking? $5?
Well, my only input would have been a little bit about the structure of, guy walked into the fair on Saturday morning, and I helping at the gate until about 11 o'clock, when that shift showed up.
That was nice to be a volunteer time.
Yeah.
You're somewhat mechanically inclined.
Yeah, right.
What's a tie rod adjuster on a culvert? Is that like a muffler belt?
Blinker fluid, I believe.
You know what that is, Wayne?
What's that?
Tie rod adjuster for a culvert.
When you have multiple culverts, they put clamps in there, and then that tie rod holds them together.
I put those together and I just called it coupling.
Well, now there's a new term for you.
Now you know the proper term.
Yeah, I don't know that. 'Cause I got billed for a culvert, for coupling. I don't think we don't read these sometimes.
Oh, yeah, no, so I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. Connectors.
But you should ask if it was compacted, that's the $200 million question. Kinda hard with the shovel handle.
That's tamping.
Yep.
It's tamping until the next,
Tamp it in.
till we finally do get rain and that pipe's gonna rattle right out.
Hey, it was raining this morning on my way here.
I know, zip,
Very inexpensive.
zip to zap was
Post
getting
that
a
too.
sprinkle.
Uh-huh. It was nice.
I know, yeah.
It's like when I walked in, told Marv, I said, what was that red stuff on my windshield?
I don't even know how to operate my windshield wipers anymore.
A lot of dirt came out with the wiper.
Yeah.
Jakes.
Yeah.
Well, I just had a big bill from there yesterday. So,
Can't believe that it can rain a little bit.
Mhm.
But you hit? Yep, I've had the same thing. Except I did not see that. I seen birds crossing the interstate, but I did not see that when it hit.
I didn't
the
see this one
windshield.
either. I was coming, I was on 83 between Washburn and Wilton, and I was going past the semi in the passing lane, I came out of that tall grass on the side, and before I saw it right in front of me, the passenger side. Price was in front, and stuff like this, big glass all over his arm and his lap, and
It was
of
amazing.
course, my car has that stupid passing lane sensors in it, so
I fight with my steering wheel more now.
I turn it on, I hate it.
Yeah,
How
I
do you
say
turn it
just
off?
turn it off.
There's a button.
There's a
on-
button right on, well, depends on what you drive, but it's right on by my left-hand side, you can push it. and
That's
turn
mine
it
too,
on.
is by the left-hand side, I turn it on, because otherwise it's like, it whips you all over the.
Yep.
I got my new car that was delivered.
Turn it on.
Yeah,
Mhm.
cause it's like, you come to a passing lane or something like that.
For you.
Yep, and you're like, whoa.
This my vehicle.
Like my Suburban used to just vibrate the
Yep.
seats if you get close to the.
Yeah,
white
like you
line
could
or
literally
yellow
let go
line.
your wheels and it would drag you for quite a ways.
Which direction it wants to go.
I don't advise
Go
that,
pass.
but.
It actually fights you and you.
I
Yeah.
just stick with the old
Yep.
wheels.
I prefer that way
Cross
too.
that line, you
Wow.
have to overcome it.
Gee,
Yeah.
learn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically seems like that's what we're going for.
Mhm.
Whether you want
That's
to or
3 of
not.
them.
Oh, let's get him in there too.
Oh, I suppose.
Well, wait,
I think we need to discuss that one.
yeah, by the garbage there, you know.
Actually, there's an article on that. from Insurance companies are gonna tell us.
Jared's gonna have us hung up over here. Expel us from the meeting.
As long as I can just sign, I don't care.
Gene,
Okay, I was gonna say, cause mine don't
not
have
yours.
roof.
Yours went a long time, went right
Nothing
through
else,
this.
signature, show that, what's that? Yeah, there's something.
Oh, turn on.
The next time I'll say if they're not handwritten, they aren't gonna get paid, you know.
Right? I need good old fashioned
Yeah,
handwriting.
yeah, little practice there.
I have a,
They make it look so darn nice, you know, and you know, it can't be that nice.
it's legal size, if you want it.
Trying to see a bill here from Carmen Reed for water. She's buying it for the,
the Mercer.
It's, general fund 49120,
And
982.
that's for emergency management.
Tell me what that is. I can't quite read the handwriting. It says 100% over or something like that.
Oh, it's 100% all of our EM.
Oh,
So it comes out of her, it's coming out of her Homeland Security grant, so she'll get reimbursed for that amount then.
All right.
Hey,
Even better,
you got a minute.
So it's a non-bill.
it's passed through.
They're asking about
there's gotta
water.
be something different we can do.
On your bill, you've got water here, like 30 cases and 40 cases of water. Okay. Okay.
I suppose when it's the sheriff, we don't want to use their personal, because it could get confiscated.
Yep. That's what I have.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, how many is this? I suppose 10 or more.
Okay, good enough. All right, you bet, thank you. Did you get that all answered by her? Yeah,
It was a non-bill, basically. We're gonna get
Yeah.
reimbursed for it.
yep. That had to do with the water outage in center.
Spitzman County, do we get reimbursed for that too?
No.
Please make payment and mail to, so that's what was confusing, it says mail
It's,
to.
yeah, it's one of our people.
One of our people in their facility, in their county?
Yes.
Got it. I thought it was the other way around. Got it.
No, then we'd be billing
What are
them.
you guys doing, done already?
Well, yeah, we're efficient.
That's what happens when you talk.
Yeah, and we got
Makes
Wayne leading the
sense now.
pack here, he knows what he's
I had to
doing.
look around the other way, I was like, I think it-
Sometimes.
Who is Gene Wolf?
We were wondering,
Yeah, we were gonna hold that one back.
hold on,
I would question.
and if they
It'll be
can't,
the first time.
I would want an extensive explanation.
and if they can't handwrite their, voucher, then it will not go past.
Per Wayne now.
Yeah. New rule. That just looks way too nice, I think.
How dare you be so professional?
There's gotta be
Yeah.
something wrong with it.
There's gotta be something wrong with it. Way too professional.
Okay, we're waiting on an answer to the Bronson Super Value one.
Well, she was in a meeting, so I don't know if she's gonna get back to us at this time. Do you want an answer before you approve it, or?
I mean,
We should learn what that is, if it's been a recurring thing.
I think, yeah, she was gonna call Bronson's and check on it, but
Do we wanna approve it and get an answer later, or are you gonna disapprove it when you get your answer?
I don't think we're gonna disapprove it, we just
No.
clarification more than
Just
anything.
wanna know what's
Okay.
going on.
I mean, I don't,
well, here is the deal, you can approve it, and if she comes back this afternoon and says it's something that we shouldn't have been charged, I can just hold the check. I can hold the check till I get an answer from Ashley.
I wouldn't want, my person, I wouldn't approve it until we got an answer, but if that works for you and
We
we
can
get,
hold the check.
we get everything straightened
Yeah,
out.
we'll hold the check until we figure out what it's for.
yeah.
If it's something we have to pay, we'll just send the check. If it's something that we should be reimbursed for, then
We
press the
can,
credit.
we can do that, we're gonna be okay with that.
Make
Okay.
make a note that,
Yeah,
that you might
Okay.
answer us at our next meeting what actually happened.
So we're gonna approve the bills as is, pending an explanation on this global discount amount on the Bronson bill, which we may not pay. Okay? All right.
That was convoluted. I can't-
Convoluted, but
I can't spell it either. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the bills.
do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Marvin?
Aye.
Travis?
Aye.
Liza?
Hi.
Wayne?
How about I?
Jean, aye. Redistricting committee, or let's,
Yep.
Yep.
is that pretty? Yeah, we should be able to do that.
Okay, so the census, 2020 was census year. Every 10 years, the counties are required to redistrict by statute. And the estimated date of the census, according to the information I received at conference, we should be getting it by August 16th of 21. But this board needs to create a county redistricting board. And that has to be comprised of the chairman of the county board of commissioners, the state's attorney, a member of the governing body selected by the governing body of the city having the largest population. So that means
Beulah.
was somebody from their governing board.
Okay.
And then a citizen at-large selected by representatives of each of the cities of the county, excluding the largest city. And they are selected by the governing body of each of the cities in the county. And then the last one is the county auditor, serving as an ex officio non-voting member, just for the purpose of advising the redistricting board. So, I don't know all the nuts and bolts that go into this redistricting. We are going to have more meetings. There'll be a lot of it at our association meetings, and then Linda's gonna offer an ILG course that, of course, I'll take between now and then, but we have to get this figured out. It has to be done by December 31st. So I put this on the agenda so that I can get approval from you guys to send out letters to those cities requesting,
Names, huh?
requesting members to be on this redistricting board. So then we can make that final, and then hopefully by October, we will have more of an idea of what we need to do and how to redistrict, and then we'll get this, extra meetings, but we'll get this done by December 31st. I'm assuming
So-
you've never probably been involved in this process either. No.
So
And
what,
right now, we only have 2 districts.
So what would-
District 33 covers the majority of Mercer County.
what's the function of this?
Well, if the population changes a great amount, then we would have to we'd have another district added to.
Another legislative district, then,
Yes.
right?
Yep,
On the
and
state
then
level.
Then it falls back on your voting districts as well. I have pulled a bunch of information from when Monty redistrict in 2011. So there's public hearings, there's publications, there's a lot of stuff that goes into doing this redistricting. I don't think that our population has changed a whole lot, so I'm hoping that we don't have a big headache in front of us. But like I said, I don't really know a whole lot about it, so I'm gonna have to take more classes on it. Other than they did ask that by August, we get rolling on forming our committee so that we can at least have that in place for when we learn what we need to do with it.
Hmm.
So as long as I have the blessing from you guys, I will get a letter out to each of the cities and auditors, and then we can go from there.
So you just need a motion to
I don't-
allow you to move forward.
I don't think so. I just wanted to make you aware of what I was doing
Okay.
so that we're all on the same page.
Okay,
And then I'll probably put it on the first meeting in September. Hopefully they'll get back to me by then, because I don't know when their board meetings are, but.
Well, even if our population didn't change much, we still might have to redistrict, because from 2010 to 2020, we had an increase of, what, 14% across the state? So it might change us, but maybe we'll be lucky.
But we'll know.
But we'll know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how it works.
Proceed.
Okay.
Good
Proceed.
plan, Shannon.
Yep.
Yeah,
sounds good.
thanks for being on top of that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't wanna be in trouble.
Yeah, so,
No.
so if as many of you
Get
can
fired.
take those redistricting classes during the annual convention, you might catch something I don't. We
Are
can
they
team
gonna-
up on this.
Are they gonna have something at the annual?
Yeah.
Regine has to go to one of
I guess.
those. It's been delegated by law.
Mhm.
I'll be there.
Or be square.
All that matters is that if you can't, then you get someone to be there for you.
Yeah. Okay, June recorder's fees, $72.65. Or for better explanation, $7,265.
I'll move to accept the recorder fees for June.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, Travis?
Aye.
Liza?
Aye.
Wayne?
Aye.
Marvin?
Aye.
Jean, aye.
Forget my name.
Yeah, I did, for a second. Okay,
You want me to go get Dawn?
sure.
3 minutes?
We, I don't think we'll push Cindy off too far. There's no public input on Cindy's report, so if she's a few minutes past 9:30, that'll be fine.
All the city auditors.
Yeah, probably not the auditors, if they have assessors, maybe, but.
Morning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You got 3 minutes.
Well, this is
Jeez.
my first rodeo in here, so you guys are pretty much gonna have to tell me what you want.
He forgot to tell you 2 minutes are gone.
So I don't know what Darby usually does. We have $297,000 in our checking account. The rest of that is just our investments and stuff, except for Bank of North Dakota. If you look at the second page, that's our straight up ins and outs that I get off the last balance sheet of the month. And if you notice, on the balance sheet, the total receipts and total payments are the same numbers that I plug in for July. We are $721,000 overspent. If you take out that $795,000, which I'm told is not operating money for us, that's designated money to be spent for something else. You take that out of there, we're 1.5 million.
And not necessarily overspent, because we're only at 54% of the budget, and we should be at 58% of the budget. So we're not overspent, our payments are just higher than receipts because we're not bringing in revenue, tax dollars at this time.
I disagree. I believe we are overspent. We're talking actual revenue, not budget numbers. We can still be under budget and still be overspent at the same time.
So we
But-
talked about that, we don't, do you get a printout that tells where we're at in our revenue, as far as our percentage of revenue we collected per day?
Yeah, I do that, we figure that out in my department, I guess we haven't gotten that far in reports, haven't done all my extra spreadsheets at this time, but we always know that we bring in most of our revenue in December, January, February, March, and then it fades throughout the rest of the year, and we depend on those dollars that we bring in those 4 months to carry us through the year. It's basically how it works in county government, because tax payments aren't steady throughout the year. They are paid before the deadline, mostly in February, and then you get a surge a little bit in October for the delinquent ones that haven't paid, and you always have to account for your delinquents. So that's how county government kind of rolls when you don't get all your, I mean, this month would we get 8,000 in the general fund for tax payments, for. So-
Yeah, and I'm not disputing that, but I guess my question is then, if we're $721,000 overspent without the 795, will we recoup that throughout the rest of the year?
We will. Yep, we still have state aid bringing in, we get our monthly payments, plus then you start getting your tax payments again in December. So, our budget, we budgeted our revenues higher than our expenditures, and I don't foresee our revenues not coming in where they were closely projected. And actually, our conversion and our severance dollars, were projected lower than what I feel that they'll come in, because we're much higher than what I would anticipate being for mid-year when I do the budget.
Fellow board members, I'm gonna be the unpopular person and disagree with Shanna. We do not receive most of a large portion of this year's income in December. That's next year's revenue. We're not supposed to be using that for this year. I took an average, and I can hand you guys out a sheet of what our average income is August through December, based on the last 3 years. And using that information and plugging that information in, we're still gonna be way short. We're actually going to be short almost double that $1.5 million. I believe our board needs to take action today to reduce our expenses to cover this.
What's your recommendation?
That's something that we'll discuss when we get to the budget part.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay,
If anybody wants a handout, I'll give it to them. I'll show the average revenue that we receive August through December of this year.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Don.
Wasn't too bad.
okay. Cindy,
Okay, last week when I was in here talking about the quotes for the cities, we had talked about keeping it simple, and I realized afterwards, and when I saw the minutes and Dan's report, that we kept it too simple, because the main one that I wanted was the $5 per parcel for the cities like Stanton, Zap, and Pick City that Jen comes up with all the values, cause those cities only have a data collector, and Jen has to come up with the values for all three of those cities and does all the extra work for them. The data collector only does the measuring and taking the pictures, and Jen does all the extra work. So that I would really need somebody to make a motion for the $5 per parcel for those cities like that. So we kept it way too simple, and that was the most important one I needed, and I thought I had brought that up, but I must not have.
okay,
So you
not
want-
questioning what you're asking for.
I need a motion for somebody to make a motion that I can charge those cities $5 per parcel
The cities with a data collector?
with a data collector.
So in the cities without a data collector, you wanna charge $18 a parcel?
Mm-hmm.
And all cities, you wanna charge $150?
Well, only, that was the 150 just for the ones that I just have to go to the meetings without without a certified assessor. That was just what I have to go to
Okay.
the meetings.
I just gotta get this down.
Okay, we okayed the 150.
Yeah, you
for
already did the
those-
150 and you already did the 18. That was that we have to do everything was for the 18
So the
Okay,
$5 is with a data collector.
with a data collector, and then we have to come up with the values and do
Yes, yeah.
everything that us,
Per parcel, right?
per parcel. So I think the motion that Commissioner Schwer made last week was okay for the other two. We just need a motion for the $5 per parcel with a data collector,
Okay.
right?
I have it down. So $5 a parcel with a data collector, $18 a parcel without a data collector, and $150 minimum annual fee for cities without a certified assessor.
Right,
That's what you're requesting?
right,
Okay.
and the two of them we did already.
Yep.
right.
Okay, now you just
Yep,
need
you just need the one
approval for the $5 per parcel
with a data
with the
collector.
data collector.
Sorry about that. I threw a lot at you last week, and I should have caught it when he was making his motion. Cause that's the one, that was the most important one I was in here for, so I must have checked out.
Okay,
Sorry about that.
someone want to make that motion?
So move.
Second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. Wayne?
I'll vote aye.
Travis?
Aye.
Liza?
Aye.
Marvin?
Aye. I'm still here.
Still present.
Having trouble with Marv today.
I am.
That's all right.
Probably come up with a special name yet or something. Anyway, Marvin?
I said aye.
Aye, okay, Gene, aye. Sorry, Marvin.
We're
It's-
cool, we're cool.
So the motion reads, charge the cities $5 per parcel that have data collectors.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry
Thanks,
about
Cindy.
that.
That's okay.
Now that I got that stuck in my head, I'll probably completely blank out your name here pretty quick. No, we don't have road issues until 10 o'clock.
Portfolio?
Portfolio
I suppose portfolio updates. I don't have anything. Marvin?
No, sir.
Travis?
As we talked a little bit earlier, the fair board met, they're required to meet within a month of the fair to kinda, look at financials and other things like that. They had some comments last night, both good and bad, as far as how the fair went. Like I said, their financials aren't complete yet. Based on what they handed out, they were, their expenses were a little bit higher than revenues. But not everything is in, from what I could understand from the meeting. And then, they'll have a annual meeting. Last year they did it in October. I don't know if they set that last night or not. I left before it was over. But they'll do their annual meeting and then they, reorganize in January. Typically, they have a county fair convention that happens in November, and that's usually when they try to lock in dates, lock in, carnival, stuff like that, so, they'll still have some meetings here, but I think overall, it was nice to have a fair again. We didn't have one last year for obvious reasons, and, livestock numbers were up. Commercial vendors was about the same. They utilized the Civic Center a little bit different this year. They had the magician in there, and with the heat, that made a huge difference. I think they're gonna do that going forward. So, on the grand scheme of things, I think it was good to have, and their biggest thing is they need more volunteers. I know some people kinda got, roped into things as they walked in, or maybe went to get a beverage, but, it's all for a good cause.
Yeah.
And, we'll hope for another good one next year. Water Resource will meet, next week, and then the library isn't until, I think, the end of this month, so that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Liza?
Yep. The ambulance board, they actually got their new ambulance, so that's great news, and they were able to get it with a good portion of grant monies. They are still looking at what they call Big Bertha to try and figure out what's going on with her. She seems to not be running very well due to emissions and issues with that. They set up an appointment in Dickinson to have it looked at there, because apparently Bismarck won't even touch it because it's international. So I'm not sure if that happened or not, but they were working on getting that set up to see what they need to do, but they may be, in need of another ambulance now very soon too. So that's something they're looking at. As I indicated before, their budget did go up a bit, and that's basically due to they had to pay more money to have paramedics actually come in and work for them, and EMTs and stuff. It's just not working at the pay that they had before. And currently, they just started looking at, going over their policies and reviewing their manuals and books that they have. That's the only one I had.
Okay, thank you, Liza. Wayne?
The regional airport project that didn't quite get started when it was supposed to. I think it was supposed to 1st of August, well, I think they went now to the 9th of August, so I hope they stick with the dates here, because who knows what the weather does and whatever else down the road, and it's, it's a big project, so. Then I have to bring to the board here, the fair board would like to purchase a 4x4 four-wheeler, and since the price is over $5,000, I need to bring that to the board, I think, or should.
Who wants to purchase it?
What did I say, the weed board?
Oh, the weed board.
Oh, weed board.
I'm like,
You said fair board.
Excuse me. Gene, you're rubbing off on me. Gosh.
Now I know I'm not alone.
Yeah. And, so I guess, I'm gonna bring that to you guys, that they wanna purchase another four-wheeler. And,
Are they trading one off?
actually not really.
Okay.
Okay, not really, yes or no?
It'll be a kind of a no.
All right.
And why I say that, okay, what's kinda going on is, they had a component that went down, and, as you know, some of this parts availability, it was out a month. So this thing is, right now, it's key that they were able to use the pickup and do some various spraying that they had set up too, but this is a key component, and they thought, well, if they can have another one, they'll set that up and they're spreading your, mileage out over 3 machines, and then if one goes out, or something goes out, they can rob off of that one until that component gets replaced, and they can keep driving then.
Only,
So, that was the thought of the board anyhow.
the generic question is,
Can I go grab their budget sheet?
Sure.
there you go. That was gonna be the,
Even better.
where are they in the budget with this
I think
machine?
they're, but let me just double check.
Yeah, I should have brought their sheet too.
Are they getting a,
Cause my, just off the cuff thought would be, we don't wanna buy another machine just cause we can't get a part today.
Yeah.
And even if it's a month, and I understand what'll happen to weeds in a month, but, cause there will be ongoing expenses on it. And so I hate seeing us just
Right.
buying another vehicle to have
They have,
on standby.
2,000 of future vehicle purchase.
They have 6,000 available in
Oh.
equipment purchases under line 651.
Yep, I see it now.
But that's not gonna make it. 4 by, or side, not a side, but, a four-wheeler is like anywhere from 8,000 to 10,000. And, so,
Well, they've only spent 40% of their budget to date.
yeah,
Um,
well, but they got some big spray bills coming in here,
Yeah,
Well, that's all I can tell you. I mean,
yeah.
the board does have the authority to
Well, it says
approve it.
actual.
Oh, gotcha.
I'm hesitant on
I'm
approving
saying
it right
no
now.
matter.
Did he
That's
have
why
an
I had to
estimate
label-
on
I
one?
went through and labeled on mine.
I don't know if he did, but I thought he shot, I thought it was around $9,000.
So they haven't used.
Because I mean, I've looked at some myself, I mean, that's what they are, they're $10,000
Do
worth.
we have to buy a brand new one though, if it's gonna be the spare one?
Well, it'd be the same component or same one that they do have today, and that's what they wanted. If it's a different, they want the same brand, the same,
And they
And-
have Can-Ams.
and the other part is, they only get 3 they've only got 3 units that come in last year or this year. And, if you don't put your name in the hat, I mean, we've been good clients, we're right up there, they'll hold a machine for us. If not, you won't see a machine till next year sometime if you're lucky. And then who knows what they change on them. But, they're real hard to get a hold of.
Well, they also have 2,000 in miscellaneous. That they generally don't use, but
So the future vehicle purchases, what is that specifically
That's
for?
their truck.
that gets moved into a CD every March when the CD renews, and they're building, I think they have like, I wanna
Oh.
say 66,000 or something, that's for a new vehicle.
Oh,
For
gotcha.
when he gets a new
Pickup,
truck.
Okay.
yeah.
you think you're gonna get this possibly fixed in a month, do you think?
Well, I think they're back up online, but they were just, trying to avoid or trying to go, look forward as kind of a proactive deal. They go, well, if anything can happen to these things, and then we're sitting here, not getting, basically getting our product out and getting, it's a cheap and a very, accurate way to get the product onto your weeds, in other words. And, well, then you have, you have another individual, what are they gonna do with her? Well, I guess you go home, don't have a machine for you today, so. So I don't know if that's a very good way to run a business neither, I mean,
But right now, they have their machine running.
right,
Okay.
we're up and
Yeah.
going.
I would think we'd limp along for another few weeks and see where we end up. I'm just guessing, I'm with Gene. I would be very reluctant to buy another machine at this point.
Yeah, well, like I said, the only thing, a little bit is, then when it comes to trading in your machine, you're spreading these 2 machines, the time out, because you have your third machine. If your hours are kind of built up on that, the other two, well, we'll run that new one until we, equalize your hours, and then you can kind of spread the life of your machines out a little bit more, too.
I'm just not sure why everything we buy has to be brand new,
Right, that's my point.
or why we have to
Well-
trade everything out after it has so many miles on it. I mean, four-wheelers will run forever if you
Yeah.
take care of them.
well, and these are well taken care of.
They're brand new.
I mean,
Right.
Brad,
I mean, they're not old at all.
no. But they'll put, they'll run up to 5,000 hours on them, and,
But
maybe
you can buy
that,
a used one with just a few hours too on it for a decent price,
Yeah.
instead of spending 9,000.
Especially if this is just gonna be like the spare unit per se.
well, that's the other part. They could probably, hunt around to see if there's another Can-Am like theirs.
Cause they have 6,000
That
in
would
their
fit
budget
in their
for
budget.
purchases, but
Yeah.
not 9.
Yeah, I know that ain't gonna cover it, because they haven't been, four-wheeler hasn't been 6,000 for a lot of years, so,
Not a new one,
Yeah.
but a used one
Yeah.
you'll find
yeah.
for that.
Well, I just have a little bit of reservation in getting another one, when right now they have the equipment they need to do their jobs.
Right.
And this would be more or less a spare, so that's where I'm a little more reluctant. If something were to have happened to one of them where they absolutely couldn't get it fixed, it, was broke down in some manner that they couldn't get it repaired,
Yeah.
then I would say sure, because they need to have, and then the need to want are a little bit different.
Right. That's all right.
So,
We'll
that's,
we'll take it back to them.
of course, there's other commissioners, so.
And there's no problem, it's just a thought, in a direction that they hate to be caught,
Yep.
in just
Yep.
the component part is not what it used to be. You got a tough time getting anything already. But that's okay. And I think that's all I had.
Okay, yeah, we might as well take a 10-minute recess on that clock, and remember, when you look at your cell phone, that it's 2 minutes behind, so be here by 9:58.
As long as there's three of us, we'll start with you, with or without you.
Yeah, I'll probably be the one that's late.
The first one out the door makes it to these restrooms aren't that. I'll give you a copy of what nobody else wanted. This just shows, this here's got to do with the treasurer's report, average the August through the end of the year revenue for the last 3 years, this is what we can expect, just average. That means our total revenue for that. Same thing with expenses. Yep, that's $3 million difference. Where do you want an average?
you from Minnesota, Dan? Yeah, we're at Minnesota.
Osakis?
Vegas.
It's on the interstate, that's why people might know it. Alexandria,
Oh, okay,
next exit east.
yeah, okay. Because I'm from Minnesota too, so.
That's right. But, and you're from,
Isle?
Was it the fair?
Huh?
I was talking about the fair, I think it's.
Yep.
From the south.
Yep, yep, so like Mille Lacs Lake, like the
Yes.
south side of Mille Lacs Lake.
It is the south side, yeah, because before Osakis, we lived in Princeton,
Oh, okay,
so
yep.
it's not too far.
No, not at all.
Am I the only one who packed a lunch?
I have a variety of granola bar sort of things in my car waiting for.
I'm
Yeah.
used to not getting a lunch for work, so.
Do they have food at the bar here in town?
I've never been in there.
I don't
I don't
know.
think I have either, so I'm just trying not, I didn't know if I could get a lunch, some kind of lunch there.
They
or-
used to at that Cold Country Inn,
Right.
And I know that that's not there anymore.
isn't it? I don't know, it's been there for so
I don't
long.
know.
Yeah, no, that's gone. So the only option in Stanton would be if the bar has
My wife, she said, I don't know what I can fix. She said, I'm gonna make you peanut butter and jelly. That's her staple, you know, from when she was a youngster, so I guess that's what I got. But you still have some granola bars, some preparation. I had one that was riding in my vehicle for like 2 weeks. Because, you know, that's mostly crumbs by now,
Mm-hmm.
so that's not in there anymore.
You took it out finally, huh?
No, my mom's the ultimate saver, doesn't throw away anything until she refuses, until like every last drink is used. So we always tease her because with s'mores, you know, graham crackers, we only ever use those for s'mores at bonfires in summer, which are, how often do you do that? So
Mm-hmm.
we'll have graham crackers, you know, the last pack, you know, and that, the box is a decade old.
Right.
And like you can, the one time my dad was, he could wiggle the
Delicious, right?
And even she was, when we forced her then to buy a new box, she's like, oh yeah, you can taste the crunch. Yeah.
Look at that, that's how they're supposed to be.
Good. You getting any horse riding done this summer?
Lots of it.
Are you?
Yeah, lots of it, yeah.
I haven't hardly at all. It's so dang hot.
It's been hot,
I-
flies have been terrible.
Yep. I was just curious. I told my wife, I said I was gonna go in and get some of that off spray that people use, spray the horse's ankles. Do you think that would, she said, I would think that would work just fine.
It works.
I used to make a mixture, and I actually have one spray bottle that says only for animal use, you know,
Yep.
but I don't have the ingredients anymore.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Just us. Duct tape, some butter and oil. Works well with something.
And my big horse came up, she was injured as a colt, and I knew that when I bought her. But she was just gonna be used for my wife once in a while, but she grew 5 inches after she was 4 years old. Jeez. Anyhow, she started limping, so, but it went away. made it with time to spare. Ryan, do you ride into Badlands?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah, we're actually going next weekend.
I drew a once in a lifetime elk tag, so
Did you?
I have to start going out there and doing a lot of
Yeah, you better
scouting.
get out there.
You
Yeah,
find any
yeah,
bullets
yeah.
yet?
Huh?
You find any bullets yet?
Yeah, I got my ammunition.
He only needs one.
I take two.
You take two?
In case I drop one.
Okay.
What caliber were you looking for?
And his
Seven.
Rambo knife.
Yeah. 160 grain, 700.
Sounds similar to
They're starting to show up. I mean, not necessarily 7, but ammunition is starting to.
I always shot at like 122 grain because I don't need a heavy lead
Knife.
for deer. You know, so it's annoying. But with the elk, I thought, well, I better get a little heavier bullet. And I couldn't find it. It took me 3 weeks to get them. There was a gentleman from Minnesota that had some. And I said that I would buy them, and he said, I'll hold them for you. Next thing you know, they show up in the mail.
Oh, really?
I said, I haven't even sent you a check. He said, well, I'm from the old school, and I'm assuming you are too. And then he wrote me back 2 days later, because they almost crossed in the mail. Got your check? So, it was a good situation. But he trusted me. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. No question about it. Mhm. And then there was a old timer in Bismarck.
Okay, we'll reconvene. Ken, you're up.
Morning. You wanna talk about the bridge?
Sure. You want me to start with the bridge?
Yeah, that's what's all it's on, there's the bridge,
Okay, sure.
south.
So I guess last time we met, it was discussed to look at an alternative
Yep.
for the bridge south of town, south of Beulah, sorry. For any other options available other than what we had discussed, which was lifting the deck, unpinning the deck, lifting it, replacing the beam, and then placing the deck back on. I think it was roughly $50,000 what we were talking about. But, after putting some information together and looking into it with what the DOT typically requires when you change structures with hydraulics and things like that, the cost to put in 2 8-foot culverts as a replacement effort for that bridge was right around $320,000. That would include import of material, guardrails, demolition of the existing bridge, embankment material, and transition grading. Those culverts that size for reinforced concrete pipe, of course, were about $1,000 a foot for install. And looking at about 2 35-foot culverts, you're at $70,000 or so alone just in the pipes themselves. So, that being said, I guess, knowing that,
Back to square one?
so to speak, I guess, yeah. I think clearly the most cost-effective way to approach it would be beam replacement and continue continued service of the existing bridge. Again, the report that was provided didn't indicate any other concerns with the bridge, other than that beam. If I had to assume, they're going to, in all likelihood, probably look at replacing the other beam as well as part of this, because, I mean, the cost would be nothing at that point. The deck's already on, just replacing the beam.
Yeah.
And they would probably go with a steel beam, if I had to guess.
These are timber beams yet?
These are timber beams right now. And the issue with one is it's decaying in the core, and it's crushing on that in abutment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would think that, yeah, a steel beam, I don't know about the rest of the board, but that'd be about the only way to go, right?
Sure. Yeah, well, there's,
You can go timber again, but
you
probably
could,
do it.
I mean, the steel would be a more, clearly more robust answer,
Well, yeah.
solution, I should say.
What's the weight limit on that bridge?
I believe it's, was it posted at 20?
Yeah,
Posted at 20.
And so replacement would be the same then?
no, not if you'd replace it. I mean, if you put a concrete, you'd go whatever you wanted to, right? I mean, 1 over.
Right.
For that estimated price, 50, was it 55,000, right?
For the replacement?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it would remain what it is.
Okay,
To replace the beam, correct, the load rating would essentially not change.
that's what I'm getting at. So we're gonna
Right.
keep the same.
Right.
To increase the load rating, we would have to increase the cost.
Right.
Correct, thank you.
So, I guess a couple things to think of with this too, right? So the folks that provided us the quote to do this work, they do have extensive experience in this work based on my research and what they've done. I do feel like they'd be qualified to perform the work for the county. They also had mentioned that they'd be able to do it this fall if the county so desired. Otherwise, they can do it in the spring. But, it's kind of up to the county as to what you guys would like to consider doing here. If you want my recommendation, in my opinion, given the condition of the bridge itself, I think it would be wise to strongly consider this replacement of the beam. And save money, as a money-saving effort as well. But I don't know if anyone would complain with the new structure, it just costs money, so.
So replacement of the beam is the 55,000 or replacement of the structure? Or are you talking replacement of structure?
The beam
Beam.
itself, yeah.
So when you say replacement of the structure, you're talking culvert?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. No, I go with your recommendation, my feelings.
I agree.
And they
Yeah.
quoted 50,000, I think he suggested budgeting 75, but he felt good about the number of 50,000. So,
Where are we at budget-wise for this, Ken?
Well, we could, I mean, kind of see what after this chip seal project, Hazen Bay overlay was done, that came in under cost. So we're gonna, once we start working the numbers a little bit more, if we could potentially use what we have, some of this next or left from this year, pay for partial, and then after the first of the year, pay that remainder if we needed to. So at least we can get
I
it.
see what you mean.
Cause I'm afraid we got that bypass down there, and if it runs east and west, and there's a bank on that west side, and I'm afraid if we go over winter time, if we do have any snow, we're gonna have an issue there with snow coming over and blocking that bypass,
I think
potentially.
with the budget too, just the snapshot, I sent Ken and Rachel a snapshot back on June 29th of budget, where we're at based on, my records with county projects. We'd be close, pretty darn close to being able to handle this cost.
With this year's,
Yeah.
correct?
We've come in under budget on every single project that we've had so far. thousand in budget left in there. That one's kind of the wild card. I still think we're gonna come in underneath that. But, that one's not done yet, even with design. Then you have the chip seals. We could come in 10,000 underneath that. Miscellaneous engineering, of course, there's always potential that can be shaved down. And then you have your, Mercer 26, I don't know if that budget was carried over or not, but that came in about 25,000 under, so.
Do we have any choice doing it this year or waiting till next year?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the struggle, and I agree with Ken, is if we don't do it this fall, providing a access for that property owner,
Mhm.
his house back there, through the winter months and stuff.
I was gonna ask questions down that path. At what point will the bridge be closed completely to traffic?
According to DOT right now, it's not required to be. They're only requiring one side, the south side of the bridge,
Just the
to
travel.
be open, the north side to be closed. So, to your point, I guess in theory, we could say, okay, I forget the gentleman's name that lives there, he could use the south side of the bridge during the winter months to access his house, until the springtime came, but when we get into the time where we're gonna need them to get farm equipment and, out to the fields, and then there's another gentleman involved out there, couple of them, we would have to probably look at reworking that crossing, that temporary crossing that Ken's got out there right now.
Probably.
I would recommend that we proceed with getting this bridge repaired this summer, this year, not next year. And Ken, I don't want, if we do the expenses this year, the expenses should be recorded this year. We don't do some of it this year, some of it next year. It's recorded in the year that it's performed.
Yeah, just, what I was leading to was, at what point, are our hands tied that we have to repair the bridge, or if we close the bridge, what's the alternative?
So, several things with that. Technically, we're there now with being required to repair the bridge based on our feedback from the DOT and their third-party inspections that they're now doing. So, they're rating this thing with 0 ton, which is understandable, but that's technically the case with the north half of the bridge. So their suggestion as a temporary fix, which Ken's already got in place, is closure of half of the bridge and the south half can still be used. I think that they would, talking with Brian Fuchs, we could probably have that conversation with them and they would be comfortable in allowing that to continue for, an extended period of time until we could, financially handle some sort of fix. However, they're expecting it to be addressed.
Well, what I'm getting at is, okay, we don't okay fixing the bridge. The bridge gets closed to all traffic. What's the alternative? What happens at that point for
Well,
traffic?
You got a bypass through there right now.
On the
Right.
north side there, that's
But-
the only way in there.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
And the trouble is, as we all know, if you get, any snow, anything happen, rain or whatever, the old bypass will just blow out like anything else. And now you got, again, expense to try to get, because you have to get those folks, emergency or whatever, you gotta get those people, that live on that farmstead out of there.
Yeah, we're
So-
certainly obligated to
Yep.
provide that
Yep.
access, we have to.
Yeah,
So
so,
100% I agree with you. The other concern during the winter months, snow accumulation, it could just completely bury that temporary fence.
Right.
And that's what I'm trying to find, how,
Yeah.
so
The
there
only
is
option-
there is like a temporary that goes around the bridge, like,
Right.
what you call a low water crossing or something?
There's, this contractor also actually brought up the idea of bridge jumpers. What it is essentially a temporary structure that they would set up directly next to it. But the costs associated with that are
Yeah.
just, they're not feasible.
No, I'm just wondering if you can't use the bridge, what am I gonna, so what's in place today if
just
I
be
can't
that
use the bridge
bypass
today?
or that
And there's a,
low water crossing, but
okay,
once that goes out, you're done, cause
You're
you
done.
can't come in from the west, you can't.
I understand, I'm just trying to
Yep.
because you know, if the bridge totally failed, if you had to close it tomorrow, completely to all traffic, where's the traffic gonna go?
We'd have
And
that
there
out-
is a,
that
there
out
is some,
water.
okay.
But there's more risk with that.
Right.
Okay.
Town road.
That would be my recommendation, we just get it replaced and with what you've recommended.
Yeah.
Do the
Fixed.
repair on it and,
Right.
The beam replacement.
Beam
Right.
replaced.
Put in a beam, put a beam in over the
Put a beamer.
culverts.
So, okay. I guess moving forward, it would be, yeah, we're talking about beam replacement, not full
Correct.
structure replacement.
Right.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You wanna
hopefully
make that
that
motion, or?
lasts for a few years.
I'm not sure, do we need a motion if that was a budget item?
I would think so. Or-
That's the problem with these two, aren't they? They're popping up, right?
Yep.
I don't think this is gonna be the last one we see, if
Yeah.
you want my house to be.
I move that I make a motion that we move forward with the bridge replacement south of Beulah with the beam replacement,
Okay. Be more like.
repair.
Bridge, there you go, bridge repair with the beam
With the
replacement.
beam
Yep.
replacement.
Yeah. There we go.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, Marvin?
Aye.
Travis?
Aye.
Liza?
Aye.
Wayne?
I'll vote aye.
Gene, aye. Any other road issues?
I do have one if we wanna talk about it. I should have mentioned it during the agenda, but I wanna talk a little again about that cost reporting. Okay, I brought it up twice in the past that we bought some equipment and it was charged to miscellaneous expense. And that, I feel that that is incorrect. It skews our reports. It doesn't report accurately how our monies are being spent to the public. And I'm gonna ask the board now to make a recommendation that that gets corrected. I wanna know what their feelings are.
So it's just a change from miscellaneous to what?
Equipment,
To equipment?
yes.
I don't have a problem with it, I don't know.
Ken, this was brought in front of the board when we made that decision at the beginning of the year. Am I correct on that?
Yeah,
And
because
you
I,
allocated it to come
because-
out of that fund? Am I correct with that?
because I questioned that, that you couldn't put it into the equipment fund, you only fund, that was a rebate on that machine,
Right.
that we had to almost put it in miscellaneous, we didn't have no other
Is there
area.
another
That
location
was
for
a
it?
buyback.
Yeah, the buyback on that, yeah.
You can still put it underneath equipment. Either one's gonna be over budget, so that doesn't make any difference there. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that the $140,000 equipment purchased be properly listed underneath equipment and be removed from miscellaneous.
I'm writing. That's Marvin. Do I have a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, Marvin?
Aye?
Travis?
Aye.
Liza?
Nay.
Wayne?
Nay,
I'll vote no.
Thank
Okay.
you guys for your consideration. Mr. Odegaard, as long as you're here, I'm going to hand you a complaint. I'd like to have that looked into as far as legal and proper for accounting principles.
Okay, any other road issues?
I should mention, yeah, there will be, I guess, final, project closeout invoicing and, pay estimates coming for Hazen Bay Road. To get the striping done and complete out there. I just haven't had a chance to follow up the contract yet. He hasn't sent me that, so.
Okay.
Another thing, I did talk with that foreman for those people that fill those abandoned mines in. And
Oh.
that one down on County 13 by the
Right.
shocks there.
right,
They're gonna work on that they're working north of the like the old the radio station now, and then they're gonna move over by Zap, cause they got some on the shocks too, and they're gonna do that one, so.
Oh, good, yeah, great.
I've attempted to reach out to the Aztec chip seal, the contractor that won the chip seal project. They have not responded to me, however, I did find out that they're gonna be working on with the DOT on North Dakota 8 here in the coming weeks. And my presumption is they will begin work on Mercer County probably shortly thereafter, since they're in the area. So, more to come on that.
Okay,
All hands.
well, thank you.
Right.
Jim?
Morning.
Morning.
Good morning, Jim.
Just a little update on our properties downtown here in Stanton. The asbestos is now all removed as of last week Thursday, so that project is all done. There's one roll-off down there yet, they gotta haul out yet, but otherwise it's pretty well done. I guess, the bar owner contacted Shanna, if you wanna tell him what she said about the auction house.
I'm not interested. Too much building.
Okay.
So I guess I go ahead and demolish it.
Just in, I did talk to the owner to the east. He just called me about 20 minutes ago. And it just happened he called. So I just threw it out there. I says, would you be interested in that property now that the asbestos is gone? So he may be interested in it. So I told him, he'd said I'd like to look at it. So I don't know if you wanna wait and let me show it to him and see if we can,
I suppose we can wait, but
It's
we
worth the
gotta
money.
eventually move forward with this.
yeah.
Well, we
I've
still
been
have
trying to
other
contact
buildings.
him all week, but he either hasn't been home, so I left a note on the door, cause Safe Tech, they used his electricity and they wanted to know if he wanted compensation for it, so he finally called me back. Why he called was just coincidence,
Sure.
so.
I agree, we can wait 2 weeks, but with Gene, I recommend that if we don't hear anything within 2 weeks, we have to come up to a decision at our
Right.
next meeting.
Yeah, and,
Yeah.
probably talk to, I can't think of her name, Bobby, and find out about the wall.
Yeah,
And, I mean, we wanna work with her in kind, but, that she used that wall, the previous owner, I think it was, used that wall as part of the support for the roof between
Yeah.
the two buildings.
yeah,
So, and I don't care who actually owns that piece of property, but we want to tear our wall
right,
down.
right.
I
did.
don't know, maybe, in the end, depending on what gets affected by that wall, we just need to talk to her and see
Right.
what,
I did see her in the grocery store, it was or in the post office, excuse me, yesterday. And she just, she told me that, yeah, we're not interested. She said it'd probably be cheaper for us to build a wall to support that. So I think she's got that kind of planned already if we do demolish it. But I guess if this guy's interested, I may not have to deal with that, so I don't know.
Jim, you need to sweeten that up a little bit, that's true, yeah.
I'm trying.
Bring them
Well,
some
maybe we
donuts or
can-
something.
look at something, what our liability would be if we were able to tear everything down except that wall to an extent, and then she would just assume the liability of that wall. I
That
mean,
wall goes all the way up, where her
Yeah.
wall doesn't,
Right,
And her,
just a portion of it.
I know,
her lean-to is only halfway up.
That
so-
involves property lines. If we leave that up, it's on the property that
yeah.
we still might want to sell.
Yeah.
So there's a concern, like Gene's saying.
Well, and I do think too, that storage area is built between the two buildings. I wouldn't be so sure that part of that storage building isn't on the property that we,
I
We
know,
own.
cause
Yeah.
if you look
Yeah.
at the frontage, the
You're
the
right?
property, the roof goes all the way over against
Yeah.
the bar, so that area in between,
I'm guessing it's split down the middle and half of it's ours and half of it's hers.
well, yeah, we would,
Could be.
I don't know how much we wanna, how much we wanna spend or how much we wanna put into finding out who actually owns that piece in between the two
Do you
buildings.
think it's pinned, Travis?
I'd have to ask if that was pinned or not. We could look in our database, see if we have it.
The city should have plot maps too.
Yeah, they'd have the plot maps, but we'd still have
Yeah.
to measure it off and look at it, but.
Dealt with
Oh,
those two.
probably wouldn't hurt.
Guys dealt with
Well,
pins and
we'll
rods.
find out from Bobby. I mean, she's probably gonna just clear that area out,
Then tomorrow
assuming,
it's
you know,
all over again.
understanding we're gonna tear that wall down.
Yeah.
If that's
I
the
know.
case, then.
She's aware of it, so.
Yeah. Then we just proceed with tearing the wall down and, but I do agree, there may be a point in time where we have to know where the actual property goes, cause if we would have someone interested in buying the property in the future, of course, it might be their expense to find out exactly where the property line ends, so. Okay,
And then the grocery store, just so you know, the roof is off now. And anytime we get rain, it's just gonna run in there, it's gonna go
Go to pot.
fast, so. I don't know what the plan is for that.
So it'll be like a swimming pool.
Yeah, right?
With mud in it.
I thought the county, we were gonna
I don't know.
demolish it ourselves.
Ken kinda looked at it, I know you guys wanted him to, I don't know if you wanna,
With that basement in there, I don't know how we only got a backhoe, I don't have no excavator.
Can we demolish the top? Can we get the top taken out and then look at hiring somebody just to get rid of the basement?
I think what you guys should do is get a cost estimate of what it's gonna take to take that one down, if we have to backfill it, get it both ways. But with that other structure that you're talking about, with those by the bar, you know, with both bearing wall and electrical there, I don't even wanna touch that.
Okay,
And like say with that basement underneath that, the one to the east there, I mean, you need an excavator to get in there and actually get that out, you can dig down the loader, but you're gonna have a hole, how big? You gotta get that machine down in there.
Well, you got Chip in town, you could get a quote from him probably, and,
I agree with that.
cause he's got dirt here too.
who was that?
Chip Erickson,
Chip Erickson.
yeah, he's a contractor in town.
do you want me to
Well,
contact him, or what, or?
It sounds
I don't
like
know.
yes.
You want,
Do you think that the highway department can still take down the building itself?
well, Ju-
I,
The answer is yes.
just
They
to
could,
hang
but
on
they
a second.
Why?
I mean, we have, gentlemen, we have the side dump and everything. The product can be hauled out. We sure shouldn't have to be paying a contractor to haul out the product when we have the truck that can be sitting there and can be filled. And even maybe, depends on what the products are, we got a couple dump trucks. We don't want the boxes bent up, of course, but, you know, we can separate some of that cost out with him, so we don't paying for every dang piece of debris.
I agree with Wayne, and also I wanna ask the question, can't we take down the above-ground structure ourselves? We're not
It's-
looking at a certain specific day that it has to be done, but we have some time that we could schedule in. I would like to think, I wanna ask, why can't we take the above-ground structure down ourselves, save some more money? We don't
you
have a lot of
talking to
money,
me
you
or
guys.
Ken, or?
I think Jim's wondering if you're talking to him or Ken.
I
Him
know,
or Ken,
I'm
yeah.
I'm asking the board to consider that. Ken, would you mind coming up so we can hear you, please?
Yeah, I guess my thought was only for the basement portion.
Right.
Right,
To the-
right.
I don't want to assume things, so,
Right, that was my intention, but.
'Cause the walls are concrete block on the exterior, and then the interior has some too, you know?
Ken, can we take down the above-ground on that east building?
Well, we could, but with one loader and a side dump, that's gonna be quite a few loads too. I mean,
It's all right.
At what point is it cost effective to do it? I mean,
Well,
I have
it's gonna
projects
cost
too I
us
have to
one.
do. I mean, it
Mhm.
costs money to drive that side dump down the road, it costs money to get the loader, you got the loader operator, you got the, I mean, and I got projects too I gotta work on.
Yeah,
So
it-
are we
it-
saving anything? Can we do
I-
it? Yeah, we
Yeah,
can.
it impacts our projects, but the rest of the cost is already assumed, so.
Yeah, what I would like to why don't we proceed this way? Let's get a bid from Chip, or there's a couple of them, let's just put it out on bids, what they would charge us to completely get rid of the buildings. And we can even list them, well, as separately, the buildings, and see what the total cost would be.
Okay.
And then we can, throw in cost sharing, like if we bring up a county truck to haul it for them, because that takes coordination too.
Right.
You know, when does a contractor show up, so, Ken has two trucks show up over here and they sit there until noon before the contractor shows up, and then, well, they wanna quit, and this contractor wants to work till, I understand all that. We'd have to get some coordination there. Why don't we start with, let's get some bids on what they would charge to remove everything, and then work down from there.
Did they split it out?
Bids
The
or
above
quotes?
grade?
Yeah,
I would itemize it above grade and below grade,
right, that can work. And there's all, I don't
and they
know,
could put a line item for hauling trucks.
Cause we just had,
there's also
some
some
buildings-
next
Yeah, just
station on
itemize,
center.
if they're gonna bid it, itemize it, so we understand what they're doing, not just one number.
Only.
cause we just had some buildings, removed in Hazen, and bet a contractor, they just did everything, they even backfilled. And sure, there was some cost involved, but you're dealing with one contractor then, and they come in and do it and
Easier for
leave.
us to backfill because we'd have the side dump, we could use our end dumps and the belly dump. But to remove, we just have that side dump.
Yeah.
I mean, by the time that person gets back over to the landfill and back, I mean,
Yeah,
it's all gonna take time. You know, 'cause there's quite a bit of structure there.
Yeah.
Start
start with, let's just start with,
Yeah.
what a contractor would charge us.
We should also, have an estimate somewhere in there what the costs are gonna be for landfill dumping, because I don't think Candy should take all of that on,
No.
freebie?
Well, that'd be in the contractor's quote,
on
then,
the
I would
contractor
think.
side, but if we decide to go dump, we should probably get a cost as to what Candy's costs are gonna be, so that she's not taking in all that tonnage for nothing, when she's gotta self-sustain her budget.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
How do you?
Well,
how
let
would
me
you
ask that
estimate
question
that?
then. So if we were to do the whole demolition on these buildings ourselves and do everything ourselves, what would the landfill costs be?
$35 a ton. Depends, I don't know how you estimate the tons on, it's cement, so.
So we would be paying, the county would be paying the county landfill $35 a ton?
Correct.
Okay. And that's what the cost will be regardless, even if the contractor does it?
Yes.
Yeah, they'll get charged too.
Okay.
They call and ask, you know, they
Yep.
can estimate their costs is what they do, the contractors, because they call a lot. On how much we charge and then they,
Okay. That'd be my recommendation. Let's start with, let's see what a contractor would charge us, and then we can work backwards from there.
So are these gonna be bids we're gonna advertise, or just get quotes, or
I would just.
then you get to that, what
I'm
is it,
assuming that we're-
$100,000 threshold?
Because we
or-
need these by the next meeting, right?
I would just call Chip and get an estimate from him to start with.
Right, so we
Just
get
one, or
that,
you
that
want
gives us an
more?
idea where we're at. Right now, we don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, you
Because they
could
can
call
only
Sutton and,
set-
Yeah, maybe just call those two. I don't foresee it being over $100,000.
if it is, then we got other issues.
And it's,
Yeah.
well, obviously, that's a.
I understand saving money, and I wanna save money too, but I don't wanna spend $2 to save
One.
10 cents,
Yeah.
you know, so,
Okay, on these quotes, you want everything included, right?
yes,
And-
Yes.
But itemized,
But-
like
sure.
above grade, below grade, backfill,
If they-
everything, landfill fees, everything included in there.
Yes,
And if they're not willing to do one of those, then we would know
right.
if they're only willing to do the basement or,
Right,
you know, then we got kinda apples to apples.
okay.
And then we don't have a grapefruit later.
I'm just gonna hammer away at, we need a starting point here, and let's find out what the demolition costs would be from a contractor.
And you want both buildings separated?
Yes.
Or-
I would do each building.
Okay. If this, other owner is interested, what do you want him to do with the auction house? Do you want him to
Just
contact
written.
Shanna, or want him to come in next meeting?
I think just a written offer to the Board of Commissioners
Yeah.
that I'll present to the board on Wednesday.
Okay. Same time next meeting?
I think so. I don't know for sure. I don't have my agenda with me.
Okay.
I don't think I have anything on there, but,
You'll know by tomorrow, right?
yeah, if I get on
Okay,
there.
I'll check with you then, 'cause I think he wants to look at it tomorrow night, so.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Any other? Do you have anything else, Jim?
The chip seal project it's down, they gotta sweep it up yet, I think. You
Yeah,
said that was
they
too
were-
tacky yet, yes?
Yeah, that was a little tacky. They didn't want it to rip up when they were sweeping it up, so. And I don't know if this rain will delay it a couple days, but, and then as far as painting, it's probably gonna be a couple weeks out for painting. But, as far as the chip seal went, they were under on oil and they were under on chips. I haven't calculated everything yet, but, at this point, they're under budget.
I'm not
So-
sure how they are on their own chips. They're everywhere, piles of them.
Well, based on the tonnage they brought in, it was less than what we had estimated, so.
Good deal.
Okay. Anything else, Jim?
And they actually
be
got
it.
it chipped.
Okay. Houston Engineering.
Thanks, Jen.
Thank you, Ken. Jim. Thank you. I called you Ken at first. Cell 6 lining. Where are we at right now in our landfill?
We're filling in cells 4 and 5.
Okay.
Thank you, Sherman.
Oh, there's two of them.
These duplicates? Okay. Looks like you get one and I get one. Dale, you want one, Shannon? That one is yours.
Do you want this on the overhead? Or-
Get a view? Did you see it? Oh.
Sorry.
Look at it for a
So
second.
that's the math. 1,000 words, times 3.
Oh. What the heck? There you go.
Technology today, it's easier to see things, if they use them. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Chairman, Commissioners. Last year, we had projected in the planning for landfill that we need to look at lining cells 6 and 7 with the clay liner to prep for a future landfilling area. Currently, and I provided just a map description, kind of where the project's at, but currently Candace is filling in the cell 4 and 5 area and running up the slopes on that. So probably starting next spring and summer, we'd probably be looking at trying to fill in cells, starting in cell 6 and 7. Then after that, we'll have to look at closure projects for the cell 3, 4, 5 area as well. So what I am proposing today, and this is based off the previous discussions, an authorization to look at a project to do that cell lining following the rough grading. We had originally projected that cost of construction may come in around that $170,000, $180,000 mark for construction, plus some administrative costs. We've pretty much through our field design and grading and CAD design, looked at the quantities, earthwork quantities, and based on where we're at now, in the stages of final design, our opinion of probable construction costs is around that $177,215 mark. And then there's the, project-related costs. Because of the lining project, there's a report and testing that's required for the Department of Environmental Quality, and bidding costs and things like that. Probably for around that additional $30,000 value.
The lining, is it a membrane or is it soil or?
It's a 2-foot clay liner. So it's
That's
compacted clay liner.
included in this cost?
Yep, and that's the shaded area.
Okay,
So the project is that shaded area in cell 6 and 7.
okay.
So it's
Yep.
the clay liner, compaction, and then we do have to construct, a place to manage that storm water that comes off those cell areas temporarily, so that's part of that construction as well.
Mhm.
So it's really two main components. One is the clay liner, and then the grading to manage the storm water in that area. Excuse me. So the,
Sure.
So these are, phase implementations at the landfill, as it goes. Now, keep in mind that, on the north side, those cells 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 actually are a lot more capacity than the cells 1 through 5 because of the way that fills are coming back onto the slopes on cells 1 through 5. So the life of these cells on the north side are quite a bit longer in terms of volume and fill area because it's filling back onto the slope of the previous cells.
How long will cells 6 and 7 take to fill, to be used?
Based on the volume projections that we've done, and of course, they're just projections, probably looking at, around that 10-year life, 6 and 7. And, before we have to start looking at, grading and lining in the cell 8 area.
So currently operating are cells 3, 4, and 5?
Yes, currently Candace is filling and operating in the cell, primarily cell 4 and 5 area.
So how much life is left in those two cells before she needs to move to cells 6 and 7? Based on your estimate, your projection?
Based on my estimates where we're at right now, I would say that there's probably no more than 2 years of workable area in there. Because keep in mind that 4 and 5, Candace does have to be able to operate on those slopes. So even though the math might say longer, operationally, it would be difficult to get more than a year and a half or 2 years without running into issues because we're got too steep of slopes.
So, Mr. Chairman, my concern is this. In the operational fund at this point, we have $166,000. And it is budgeted to move $30,000 more into it in 2021. So at the end of 2021, or we can move it now, it doesn't matter when we move it. So 2021's balance in that fund will be $196,000, which does not cover these costs. That's my concern.
The costs are 206, the way I got it.
And we will have $196,000 in there in 21. In 22, we've projected to also budget $30,000 for the operational. So after that, we'll have $226,000. So do we want to hold off until the 2022 budget season? Or
The only thing with this here is for how close we are, even he says a year, year and a half to 2 years.
that's what I was wondering. I don't know how it
Once we put this
operates.
liner in there, the state requires that we put 4 feet of garbage on top of that liner immediately to protect it. While weather does stuff, so we would pull out of where we're at and get that on there, and then have to go back and finish. But if something were to happen and we get to the end, and we don't have that liner in there, it's not gonna be.
So what's the time frame to construct the liner in cells 6 and 7? And do we have to do both of them? Or is it more cost effective to do both of them?
Well, it's a little more cost effective, to do both based on the volumes. Let me answer. The the timeline for construction, because because we need to be able to have that clay liner covered with, with one freeze thaw cycle. So I project a early spring construction, so then, the facility has enough time to get that cover placed on within that summer and that one's, cycle of freeze thaw.
So this project you would bid out now, but it wouldn't take place until 22?
Correct.
Okay, so then based on that, in 22, we would have the funding for it, but we would be down to, say, $20,000 in the operational fund. At that point, by putting in 30,000 each year, are we going to be able to build that fund back up enough to cover cells 3, 4, and 5 when that time comes, and then construct? I'm assuming we don't need to construct 8, 9 anytime in the near future if you have a 10-year projected life on them.
Right.
But are we gonna be able to build our fund up high enough to cover cells 3, 4, and 5 in the future if we're only putting in $30,000 a year? I'm just trying to figure out how to capitalize all of this to.
My short answer would be
No.
no. Because, and the reason I say that is that, under the state requirements, there's, the way I look at it, there's three funding things that have to be managed as these projects are phased. First is the projects that we do now, it's the lining projects, and that's an operational fund.
Yep.
And then the state also requires a closure fund be maintained. So if the facility shut down today, there has to be enough money in that fund to be able to close the cells where they're at today. And then there's a third fund,
That Mercer County does not have.
which is called a post-closure fund, which is required. And that's a fund that the facility needs to maintain to manage the site for 30 years after it's closed.
Okay, that's the one we do have. So we have the operational and the post-closure, but we've only been filling 2 funds instead of 3. So that's where all of this comes in.
Right.
And we had this conversation this week, so that's where my concern comes in, that we don't have, that maybe we can't be on the exact timeline that you're thinking. That's why I'm thinking, can we do 1 cell instead of 2 cells with the lining? And it might be more cost effective to do 2, but really, it's your mobilization that you're gonna pay for twice, probably, and your administrative costs. But if we can't afford that,
So we're gonna fund doing this project, but the revenues that come back in should pay for that.
well, her revenues have to pay for everything. They have to pay for her salaries, her benefits, her workman's comp,
Mhm.
all of her operating expenses, plus all of these projects. And since I've been here, we have been putting money away, and it's only been probably, 5 years that we've been putting the 30,000 in?
Yeah.
And that's my concern, is that she has to be self-sustaining. So, yes, we have the money to do this project for cells 6 and 7, but then like Sherwin said, we're not gonna have the funding to cap 3, 4, and 5. Cause how many years out do you think that project would be for the capping of those 3?
Well, the projection of what the Department of Environmental Quality would like to see is a phased capping, so you'd probably be looking at a capping project, once every 3 to 5 years.
So we cap all 3 of those in 3 years?
Well, we'd only be capping portions of cell 3, 4, and 5, because remember,
We're using the
cells
backside
9 and
of them.
10 are gonna come back over the top. So like we capped cells 1, 2, and into 3, there's only a portion of those cell areas that are actually capped final.
Okay.
Because we don't want to, cap something and come back and have garbage over the top of the cap. That'd be,
How hard is it to prepare a timeline with costs for the next 3 years?
well, we kinda prepared a timeline in the operational plan that goes with the,
Mm-hmm.
the permit requirements. And I did prepare a rough spreadsheet where I looked at projects, what I think might be a reasonable timeline out, 10 to 12 years. And I believe I provided that.
You did, I haven't had a
Spreadsheet.
chance to actually dig into
It's,
that yet, cause
Mhm.
but I don't know.
And it's my projection based on how the facility feels,
Mhm.
how the plan was written, when those projects might occur.
Okay.
and kind of that
Approximately
cost.
how much is it to cap one of them?
The area that we'd probably look at capping, it's probably around a $220,000 project.
Okay. Shanna, I'm gonna go back to Shanna's questions. Hers were really good questions, cause we have some funding to make up in our closure and our post-closure funds, right?
Not that we need to make up anything in those funds, it's the phased closure that
Mhm.
Mercer County's never had. We have the post-closure,
But not the
and we
closure.
have the operational closure.
But
We
this,
don't have the
this
phased
money should be
closure.
coming from the landfill.
Has to.
We budget
Okay.
for it in her budget every year,
Okay. We have three funds, 6,001, that's the operational,
$166,000.
and then we have the closure, that's 8049, I think, and
He's
then the
doing
post-closure is 8050, something of that nature. Okay, those, but, I'm gonna go back to Shanna's question, I think it was very valid. Even though it's more practical if we had all the funds to do 6 and 7 at the same time, because we might be short of money, should we just do the liner for 6? And you two can answer that for me, I don't know that.
That's certainly a possibility.
What's your,
And we could-
Candy, has got some thoughts on
I
it?
guess you're gonna pay the double on the mobilization, all the bidding and all of that stuff all over again. So in my theory, it's gonna cost more money in the long run, and waiting 2 or 3 years down the road, the costs are gonna get higher
Very
than
good.
they are right now also again. And that's what's happened in the past.
And I understand that,
Yeah.
Mark, but if you don't have the funds,
Yep, that's where we're at. If you
Well,
don't,
okay, but you said in 2022, there would be 180,000 in there.
no, in 2022, you would have
226.
226, which, yes, that would cover this
This would
project.
cover this, and then
But
that's
then-
all we're worried about right now.
But then, like Sherwin said, we're not gonna be able to build it up enough in time to
To
cap
cap.
3, 4, and 5.
Okay,
So
but that's gonna be, that'll probably be at up to 5 years or more down the road, I agree with that. But that is also, I don't need to get into the budget thing, that is why I'm asking as a Mercer County employee for our wages and insurance to be paid by taxpayers, so that money can be put aside for these projects, that's what I've been trying to explain. On that end. On
Well,
this-
I look at it
Well, we got
that's almost, I'd almost wanna say, why did the county get in the landfill business? That should be a private entity, and then we should treat this as almost like a separate business.
this is
And then-
exactly what.
separate business.
this
Right,
is-
and
This is
so
called an
the
enterprise,
income
Gene, this is called an
gener-
enterprise fund, that's exactly what this is.
Then the income generated by that should cover all your costs.
It has to.
So, the only thing, you need to charge more.
Okay, we have raised it quite a bit.
Well, you're gonna have to raise it more. Because why should we have to fund this because I don't know about the rest of the, I'm just gonna talk personal here, then what I say is we just shut down the landfill and have a private entity do landfill, and everybody has to haul their stuff to a private landfill.
There isn't
And
any
you-
private landfills.
I'm just saying, so, I don't see why we have to, because do you accept landfill items that come from outside this county?
Yes, because we are regional, and you do need the income to try to keep it running.
Well, do you just hear what you said, you need the income, so you need, because we have Mercer County taxpayers that are footing the bill on this,
But they're not.
and
No, sir, no, sir.
they are.
Yeah.
as soon as we are putting money into it.
Oh, yeah.
And then you have entities from outside the county bringing garbage in. Apparently, I mean, in my opinion, you gotta charge more, because I don't wanna have to pay for McLean County to bring their garbage over here.
And now's the time to raise the rates.
I know what you're saying, but, you know,
I'm gonna ask you a question, I'm gonna listen to
Preliminary
you.
until August 10th. So if we could get a letter to the cities now, today, tomorrow, and they can plan for it in their budget to start January 1, we have time right now to up those rates, as long as we can get it to the cities before they're,
Yeah, those
before
rates,
the 10th.
as Shanna said, those rates would have to be like at this meeting, because those cities gotta be,
In by the 10th of August.
yeah, they can't be, right, what was I gonna say?
And yeah, we can't pay for, because the landfill is a completely separate fund run on its own, we can't pay general fund monies.
To
You can't
subs,
stick your people in general fund.
you can't subsidize it.
Okay, I'm gonna ask Gene a question, because I'm missing a point here. He said we would be funding this. What
Well,
do
if we were paying their salaries and benefits out of the general fund.
Yeah.
but we cannot.
Right.
Right.
But that's what she's requested, that's what he's
Mm-hmm.
saying that,
He's right on, we should raise the fees. We're running into a money crunch, and
Yeah.
basically, if you raise the fees, you solve two problems. You have more revenue if the volume stays the same, and the other part is you have less expense if the volume goes down.
Cause I sit here and I'm almost on a pivot, because I have commissioners and people telling me, no, you have to be self-sustaining. Well, then indirectly, if you'd have enough funds, you wouldn't need to come here and ask for funding. I don't know if I'm explaining myself in a way, the way I should be, but there should be enough money there. And the only way you get enough money there is charging for people to get rid of their garbage.
Well, if this would
So-
have been managed right in the beginning, we wouldn't be
Right.
in this position either.
Well,
There's been a lot of county projects in the past with buildings
That's-
and other stuff, and
Yep.
back when employees were dumping free and a lot of other things I'm not even gonna get into. And it has helped a lot that most of that has ended. That was a lot of money buried in the ground out there, and that wasn't on me. But
Right, and
it's like-
that is in the past. We have
It
to
is,
look
but
forward
so
now.
I'm trying, like, even when I was
Yep.
asking on them, even if it was for, like, say, 2 years, some kind of help, like, just, cause we are Mercer County employees.
Yeah, so now,
and
if,
at the end of the day, I don't know, Mercer County
That's-
has loaned the enterprise, or the landfill money, like,
Very greater.
and we
I mean,
charge
lower.
them an interest rate, and then they pay it back. If that's something that we need to look at some point, is loaning them money to get on their feet. But I think we need to start at raising the rates, because
the
we
rates
should
need
try
to
to
go.
be we should try to make it work the way
Okay.
it's supposed to work.
From what I'm hearing here, and we have to raise our rates, but what do we wanna do with this project? Where are we on this?
Well, here's another question. You talked about us loaning them money. Is this entity allowed to get bonding or anything like that, or some type of financing?
I'm not sure. I can-
Because, I mean, we're at historic low rates for funding, so, it gives you I don't know how many people go out and buy a new vehicle with cash these days, or a house, and things like that, so that's always an option. And as far as rates, I mean, I don't know the last time you raised it, but it's,
It hasn't been-
you have to do it occasionally, or periodically, so.
Then I gotta ask probably a dumb question. Who controls the rates? Candy herself?
I come to you guys to raise them, we just did it, 2 years ago? We raised it to $35 a ton.
What's the average, rate in the state?
Well, we are lower than the rest of the state, but we are the only 20-ton facility in the state of North Dakota, MSW waste facility.
If we,
in North Dakota.
if we raise the rates, what would you recommend?
I probably wouldn't go more than $2, but I don't know, you guys can do whatever you want
What,
to.
what is a normal landfill for a ton?
Well, the bigger landfills, they take in 500 and some ton or whatever, some of them are $40, $45. But they're running many pieces of equipment, and
I can
know.
maybe provide,
Just bear with us here. I know we're a little bit off your subject here, but just bear with us a little
Cause
bit.
he deals with the Bismarck landfill.
yeah, I can maybe answer, at least provide a range of comparable costs. I know that most other landfills that have two different types of waste. So you have your municipal solid waste, which is, the main landfill area, and then you have the inert solid waste, and there's usually two different rates. I would say generally in North Dakota, the tipping fee for the municipal solid waste is around that $45 to $47 per ton. If you were to look at Fargo, Bismarck, Minot, Dickinson, your rates are probably in that range currently, and they usually increase them each year. The inert rates are usually around that $25 to $32 per ton.
Describe inert for myself.
Inert would be like construction debris, primarily, and that gets filled separately than your
25 to
municipal
32.
solid waste.
Is that like ash too? No?
Well, it depends, the ash would depend. If it's, power plants dispose of ash waste, and those are very expensive cells, cause those are lined and everything. The inert waste that I talked about would be like construction debris, and that can be in a cell that doesn't have the same lining requirements and stuff.
What was the typical? You said 45 roughly?
I would say $45 to $47 a ton
And what do
is
we charge
municipal
for
solid
inert,
waste.
Candy? Everything I have is $35 a ton across the board.
Oh,
Okay,
Like
this,
Bismarck will charge just so much per truckload for their inert and let it go, or wood, like just truckload.
what percentage of waste is the inert and typical? Is typical 80% and inert 40%? Tell me what they are roughly.
That, it varies by region, but, I would say a rule of thumb would be, your inert waste is usually a lot less than municipal solid waste. So you're probably 10-20% of the total is inert, the rest is municipal.
That helps us with our, if we change these rates.
I want the rates to stay straight across the board for everything in there. We're not adjusting. If it goes up to $38 or $40 a ton, it's across the board.
How many tons do you run in an annual year, total?
Boy, I'd have to have paperwork on that.
The reason I'm asking, if we raise it $3, I wanna know how much revenue we're gaining.
Right, you got a ballpark figure?
We raised it two, and I think it was it close to maybe, was it 100,000 maybe? I think.
When you raised it last time, Candy?
When you raised it $2, you generated 100,000?
I thought it was roughly that, I'm just kinda.
Yep.
Ballparking.
Rough estimates on a yearly average for that year.
I would suggest going 40 straight across the board.
I would.
I would too.
Because that's a combination of the household and inert for an average other landfill.
Yeah, and
And they're gonna dump there, people are gonna dump there regardless if it's 35
Well, if we're
or
still
$40.
$5 cheaper than Bismarck.
That's correct, I was just gonna say.
And you're not
Distance
paying
wise.
Gas prices alone, you're gonna save.
We're getting to the point where people are gonna bring garbage here, cause you got 100 ton to get rid of. That's, what, $4,500 cheaper to haul it to the Mercer County landfill than to my local landfill, so.
Yeah, we really don't have that, it's just that they're local, working locally.
Mhm.
As rates go up and they find out, but yeah, I would say we need to charge at least 40.
well, keep in mind, the Mercer County landfill, the way it's permitted, is limited on the volume that it can take in a year.
Take in them.
Yeah, but it's first come, first served too.
It is. I just wanna make the point that, in terms of, people wanting to utilize a facility from outside coming here, there are limits that the facility can take. And if they wanted to exceed that, the lining requirements become way more stringent, so.
Raising the rates will help limit that itself.
Somewhat, correct.
Well, I would like to sit down and go through the spreadsheet that Sherwin had sent me really look at where we're gonna be in the next 5 to 10 years. I just
So-
feel like doing this project, like approving this today, we're gonna deplete what we have, and are we gonna have
So-
enough going forward?
We can wait with this, say, a month and readdress it.
We could, I mean, my advice for the facility is that if we can bid in the fall for spring construction, hopefully
Yep.
we can get better bids than if we,
Well, and if we can sit down and look at the numbers too, hopefully we can go through and do both cell 6 and 7. If we look at the increase in rates and what that's gonna generate for revenue, maybe we can.
By
push more aside.
2022, right?
And even by 2025, if that's when we need to start thinking about capping, our operational costs, so I
We
think,
need more information, a little more time.
I definitely need some more time.
But in the meantime, I think we need to up our rates.
Yep.
If you're gonna raise, if you wanna raise the rates for starting in January, we need letters going out right today.
Yep.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
You
that's what we
can't
were talking
dump
about.
this on them after they get their budget.
Yeah, we're gonna make
Yep.
that.
That's
make
what we
it
were
right
talking
here.
about.
And, but that would, is that what, I don't suppose we can raise the rates tomorrow,
No, it's
But-
not.
January. We'd have to start January.
That screws up everybody else's budget.
but if it's January,
Yep, it'd be
so
January
then
1st.
I would encourage that we raise the rates to $40 a ton on January 1. Minimum of 40, yeah. So,
if I can,
I just need a motion if,
Sherwood
I can
had
maybe
something
add-
else he wanted to say.
just one comment particular to this project.
Yes.
Because there was a discussion about only doing cell 6 or 6 and 7. I'll just put it on the table that, it is possible to do a portion of 7. I mean, there's nothing that prevents, there's nothing that says you have to have, by the delineated cell, that it has to be lined as a unit. You could line cell 6 and half a cell 7.
And that would decrease
Well,
our costs by,
It would increase your earthwork costs for this project and stuff, but, the thought that
but if it's gonna,
every time you do a new project, you add mobilization fees.
but if you're gonna decrease the cost by 5% by only doing half a 7,
right. And do you think, how much work is that for you to figure out what it would cost us to do just cell 6? I don't think we need to know what cell 7's gonna cost us if we do it 5 years down the road.
That wouldn't be a huge effort for me to estimate that, because it becomes down to a unit cost of the area at that point.
So maybe we want that by the next meeting, by the time he comes back.
Just cell 6.
2 weeks. Is that gonna give you time to go through his spreadsheet and still do our budget stuff? Or we'll
That's
just-
completely separate from our budget stuff, really,
Mhm.
that's gonna be, but I plan
No,
on
it's
getting
separate.
through that this week, and then
It's time.
I can get an email to you guys for you to review by the next meeting.
So we're gonna postpone the decision on the lining till our next meeting?
Will that work for you to come back up in
Yeah.
August, what is it, 18th?
Yep, that'd be fine. I guess at that time, just so I'm clear, I'll have worked through the, kind of that capital improvement list that I projected, and then I can bring back just a revised estimate for a smaller lined area, if that would be.
Okay. Sure.
I think that would work, and you and I should be in contact, this week yet, maybe, and work through some of those numbers, just so I have the big picture, and we can go from there.
And then when we go to the bidding process, we could always do 7 as an additive alternative,
That's,
which would say the minimum is 6, we may do 7 if prices are.
Yeah, depending on where the
Advantageous.
price is.
Mhm.
That's certainly
a good option.
a good option too.
Then the contractors know up front that it's at least this and possibly this.
Maybe just do that, and you
Yeah.
don't have to completely break it off, just do it as an additive. And
that's an
Mhm.
option.
I think that makes sense.
Okay, thanks, Sherman.
Great.
Okay,
By the way, you have a nice presentation. I like the drawings, and it's easy to see.
yeah, no.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
No, I can note somebody.
Now he needs a
Okay.
motion. Right?
Mr. Chairman.
All right,
somebody
thank
wanna
you.
make the motion, or
Yeah. Thank you, Sherwin.
You need a motion for a tipping fee, don't you?
I would say, right?
So moved that we, increase our tipping fee to $40 on inert and household waste,
I'll second.
right?
Yep. Any more discussion on our tonnage? Hearing none, Wayne,
How would I?
Liza,
Aye.
Travis,
Aye.
Marvin,
Aye.
Jean, aye.
Candy, are you gonna send those letters out? Or you want me to?
Yeah, I can scan, I'll just,
Okay.
I think what I'm gonna do is just send them mostly to the city. Is that okay to do that, to the, like the city garbage trucks I got?
Yep.
And, or like the bigger, or the, whatever, them people, and then probably put up signs?
Yep.
Because again, if I send it to all the customers, I'll be doing this forever.
Right.
Right.
No.
So I would say the ones
Yeah.
that budget just for the garbage dumping, you know, like the political subdivisions that have to get their budgets back into me by the 10th. That'd be,
And it's effective January 1.
Yeah, probably your,
Yep.
well, the major contractors, do you have like waste management?
Yes.
Yeah, let them know.
I don't know, Circle K.
Is that
over there.
motion for effective January 1?
Yes,
Okay,
Yes, it was.
yes, it was.
just wanna make sure it's in there.
Yeah, I heard me say that, yes.
Well, we had talked about that previously.
We did, but I wanted,
Yeah.
did we vote on that already?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Clear as mud.
Anything else? Now we're on break until 12 o'clock.
Wahoo. Thank you, Candy.
Thank you.
Deep breath.
Got it
right?
on now?
Here we go.
Now, we'll reconvene. Review and approval of the 2022 preliminary budget. I guess just to throw it out there, my understanding of this would be, we just need to pass a preliminary budget, which can be scrutinized in more detail as we get closer to approving a final budget. We need to start with at least a preliminary budget. And my understanding of that also is we need to have some numbers, and we don't wanna go too low or cut too much to begin with, so that our auditor can get a proposed tax statement out, or what do you call it,
The treasurer, yep, estimated tax.
Estimation.
our treasurer get an estimated tax statement out to our,
Clients. Public.
yeah, to the public. Wanna say, I keep wanting to say members and taxpayers or whatever, residents of Mercer County. So with that, any input, any ideas?
I have some after Shanna, I do have
Since
some.
we have highway department here, should we roll through their budget, and then the sheriff is next, and then after that, we can look at the budget as a whole and kind of pick apart what we need to do?
Get these guys
I think
going.
that makes the most sense.
Yes.
So we don't take up all of Ken's
Yeah.
afternoon.
He's got work to
And
do.
Ken's budget is on page 10 of the Excel budget, and then if you're gonna look at what he's handed in to the board for his requests, it's page 70.
70,
Yeah.
oh, right there. And this page 12 or any page 12?
Page 10.
Or any page 10?
Well, yeah, it's just page 10.
Okay.
Hello, Ken.
Yeah.
Fellow board members, I'll re-express what I said at the last meeting, and then we're gonna ask Ken some questions. I was very concerned, and I will go through this after just a bit. We are using all the reserve funds, almost all the reserve funds, except for about 200,000 of the roads, to make our 2022 budget. And we're still having to raise our levy, our taxes quite a bit on the roads. So I went back to Ken a week or so ago, and I said, Ken, we need to cut the budget at least $500,000. And I asked for his recommendations. Now, I have a lot of information here that I will share with you, but the first, if it's all right with you, I'd like to start with, what are your thoughts on what we discussed, Ken, and do you have any recommendations?
You guys have this week?
They don't. Can I grab that quick and go make a copy?
So it's first of all, kind of, too, is where did he cut his out? Where did he cut your?
I'll get to it, when you get the sheet, you'll see it.
Okay.
Yeah, he hasn't shared his recommendations with me.
Oh, okay, surprise.
We were trying to hook up and our days didn't match up, so.
Okay.
Well, and I wanna thank you too, Ken, for looking into it and looking over it to see what areas could potentially have some cuts too. I appreciate that.
I think we got a little bit of work here, so,
Good, great.
I'm a little,
once you get the sheet, then you'll see here.
Okay.
little concerned, just, I mean, our culverts, you're really running pretty thin, you only have $1,000, so.
But we have a pretty good reserve on hand, Wayne, I mean.
Okay,
You have some storage in storage?
Yeah,
Okay.
some leftover holdovers on, because they don't take much
no, I know.
of a pipe to run over.
Especially with how
We can't
dry
do too
things are
many
now,
more
if we get a
bridges.
wet winter or something like that, it might
Well,
have some issues.
Like Charlie was saying, that could be an issue down the road, if it's a third party doing the inspections now, and they're nitpicking
Thanks,
everything,
Shannon.
so it's gonna be interesting.
Wayne's got his punch right there.
That's puncher for you, hand them down here.
200 punched?
Sure. Which way do you wanna punch it, this way or this way?
I like it this way. Cause then I can put it right in my book right here.
All right, that's the way we'll do it.
Here, put these in with them.
Anybody else? Last call.
Too late for them.
Too late for them, I heard that.
Good answer.
All right, Ken, you're
All
on.
right, Ken.
All right, if you go underneath, line item number 7 there, where it says 2022, overlay Mercer County 26, west of 15, over to County 13, that's, right west of the gas plant up there. Contractor cost, construction engineering, and, preliminary and advertising comes up to $987,000, or no, hang on here.
925?
Yeah, 925,800, okay? That's one of the projects for 2022. And then the next one down is the bridge replacement, or, yeah, that's up there north of Dodge. That one comes in, Dodge and Golden Valley comes in at $695,800. And then number 9 line item is patching, striping, and miscellaneous construction, and that's $95,800. There's a typo on there, I think it had said $1,742,400, it should be $1,717,400. $1,717,400. The one that, needs attention to is that bridge replacement. It was estimated, for the contractor cost at $600,000, and then you got your engineering fees in there, of which some of it is, they're doing the study on that now, the hydrological study, and actually on the structure, but that bridge, when Eric was here, Ernest, that goes underneath that federal funding, so that would get that 80-20 split. And Eric said, until we get that, he's thinking around $350,000 for that structure, not $600,000.
Can you say that again, please?
$350,000 for that structure.
Thank you.
And
And
they're,
of that,
are they look, they are.
Which one are you looking at, Ken?
Number 8.
Number 8?
Where it says contractor cost $600,000, more like,
Okay,
And that,
after we get our share.
after we get our share, after everything's said and done, it would be about $70,000 out of pocket. Cause that goes out with that federal funding.
So
that
he's
80-20.
thinking instead of $695, it'll be a $350,000 project?
Right,
Right.
with the engineering and the, with the structure.
And he's looking at a box structure, right?
Right.
Well, yeah.
Here's the
I
thing.
just wanna comment here. I don't know what the state of North Dakota is doing here, but, anyhow, they had a third party come in and do these bridge inspections, and it looks like the state wasn't doing a very good job, or these guys are nitpicking something terrible. But, all I can say is the counties are getting caught here on these structures that have been in here for quite a while. And like that particular one has been redone except for the piling part. And now all of a sudden, we got all these failures, and we got a lot of, gentlemen, we got a lot of wooden structures and little bridges out here. This is just the tip of the iceberg, so we want to be careful on how much we put into the ground, you know?
So, so he's thinking it's more or less 350,000 instead of 695, 800.
Right.
What can we figure between, like, right here it shows 600,000 for contractor and then 95,800 for,
Engineer.
construction and or engineering and advertising. So what can we, like, so I can figure out just what the contractor cost will be and what the consultant fee will be. How do I split that? Would it be 300,000 for contractor costs and 50,000 for engineering? So,
Or is it like a percentage of the total project?
because we only get the 80-20 split on the project itself.
Do they pay the
We don't
engineering?
get that 80-20 split on the engineer, do we get it on the engineering fees too?
I don't know, I don't think so.
There was
So
a,
that's why I'm kinda wondering, so I can.
So just on the construction
it's
portion
just
of
on the
it.
construction part.
Oh, okay,
And that's where he said that 350, because that other one that south, that was at 325, remember this morning?
Yeah.
okay, but
It's
just,
on the structure,
I-
not engineering.
I get that whole thing about the split, the 80-20 split and everything. But if the project's gonna cost 700,000,
But it's not.
It's not,
That's what he's saying, the total project's gonna cost 350. So that's what I'm wondering, what the
federal
split is
aid.
between the engineering.
just a minute.
What happens
The-
with the next?
That's what our cost is gonna be,
No,
no,
is 350.
Not
no,
when
the
it's all
total
final.
project without any split is 350 is what they're saying.
How did it drop from 600 to 350?
because Eric
Cause
went
it's
out,
got the federal.
when he did that initial deal, that he didn't, until that hydraulic, well, the hydraulic still isn't done, but he's thinking with the size of the box, until that hydrological study comes in, to determine how big that box has to be.
Right.
You know, we had those ones up there on the east of the Y, off County 26, to get to that number, that 350,000. And like that other one down here with those 3 RCP pipes in there, 8-footers, I mean, the box is gonna be comparable, because it's one structure, not 3 different pipes going across there, so that's why he's put that at 350,000.
The contractor cost, the new estimate is 350,000.
Yes.
So did the construction, did the engineering costs stay 95,800?
Okay, let's start all over on that one. Are we saying instead of $695,800 that the project is that line item changes to 350?
But then you got engineering costs on that.
Okay,
So just the
exact,
contractor cost is gonna be 350?
Right. Yeah.
okay,
Yep.
Okay,
So
alright.
it's, yeah, so it's
So the 600 changes
right,
to
the
350.
600 even number, the first
Right.
number, that's. the
That
one
goes
that
down to
to
350, yep.
all
Okay,
right,
alright.
there,
So then you
Got
have
it.
And of that 350, that is the category or the deal that can go for that 80-20 split. No engineering costs.
No engineering.
yes,
That 350,000 and 80% would be 70,000 out of pocket,
right, and I understand that, but
plus
But-
the engineering fees.
we still have to
Okay.
budget the 350, because then we will get reimbursed.
Yes. Yep.
So that would be almost like under the revenue type side.
In the past, we haven't budgeted the whole project. We've only budgeted what our cost is, because we don't actually, we don't get reimbursed. We
Well,
only pay the
right,
20%.
we pay, what happens when that federal aid is that the state pays the
Oh.
80% and then they bill us the 20%.
Right.
Bill
They'll
us.
bill us that
Oh,
70.
okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
right,
Okay.
that's different
Yeah.
then.
I did not
Okay.
know that.
Yeah, they bill us
Okay.
that, yep.
So that drops your line, here,
Your contractor way down.
No, not the contractor line, that drops the
Project.
Contractor cost, right?
payment to contractors from 1.5 down to 970,000, which is a total of $530,000.
You lost me, Shannon.
So the payment to contractors right now, we had budgeted at 1.5 million.
So this
It's-
isn't on
it's
this
not on the
page,
sheet.
right?
No,
Okay.
because we took the 825, the 600, and the 75,000, and that
Gotcha.
equaled 1.5. If we drop that 600 down to 350 and only put in our 20%
20%.
split, which is 70,000, so then we just have 825 for the overlay, 70,000 for the bridge, and 75,000 for the patching, striping, miscellaneous. That comes down to 970 off of the 1.5, we're down 530,000.
Okay,
What was that amount again?
970,000 is what that new number will be.
Okay, okay.
Where the contractor will be 70,000, then you add 50, then you add 45, and then you add 8.
Right.
And our
For
total
that
is,
line.
our total is 165,800,
Okay.
$165,800.
Right, but we budget the payments to contractors separate from the consultant fees.
Right,
So the consultant fees are gonna stay at 215.
probably at that amount, right.
And which they may not, the engineering probably isn't gonna be as expensive as projected on there. But that's what the numbers he's given us, so I feel those are the numbers we should use is the 215.
Yeah.
Okay.
okay, now that I'm completely confused, that's fine.
Welcome to our world, Gene.
Well, you're dealing with line number 9 also.
Yep, 8, 7, 8, and 9 is what they're projecting for 22.
What did you change
Oh,
on
I see
9?
Nothing.
that now.
The only change was on 8.
Yeah.
Was that 8? Okay.
I got a question on that overlay from 26 to 13. Isn't that gonna be removed in about 8 years due to mining? I mean, that's the estimate,
Yeah,
but,
well, I've heard both ways, I've heard not, and then I've heard 8 years, so. You know, I can
Yeah.
see if it's been 8 years, the guy can nurse it until then, if that's what's gonna be, you know, but it is dish bad, I mean, there's ruts in the road there, especially coming down that
yeah.
hill.
What am I saying is either we do it now so that we get 8 to 10 years life out of it, or we just let it deteriorate because it's gonna be relocated. But if there's a question of it being relocated, then I think you almost have to do it.
Why would you have to do it if it's gonna be relocated?
Because you'd still have
No,
10
this is-
years, or 8 to 10 years that it would still be a road.
Oh,
Still
sure.
a road, yeah.
Because they were planning on sometime in 2030.
Yeah.
And I mean, I haven't worked there for almost 2 years, but,
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I've never heard an updated, you know, I heard that too. last
Is
year.
that something that we could check into?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
thought
not
I
a
could throw and see what-
dire thing now to get these numbers as low as possible today with the road department. We don't absolutely wanna do that, but
Right.
is that something for
Well-
before
For
our
like
final budget?
final, yeah.
We could
It-
check to see what.
that
their
would be
mine
like
plan
a
is.
Ryland or, you know, because he
Right,
comes in
yeah.
quite a bit, he'd be able to get that for us.
Should have asked him.
Yeah,
Well, I didn't know
never
that
heard
was
any
on
of
the,
this.
I didn't
But-
have this.
But
I
it's,
have his number.
Well, I have his number too.
So
But it-
dropping the 530,000 off of the road department roughly drops you 10 mils. So,
that'd be good.
Very good.
Where the mill sheet is at.
And again, the one I know, other than with the explanation, it was hydraulics related, that was the cause of that major shift.
Right.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
so if the flows were through the study are reduced, then the sizing of the culvert or
Yes, it
would
could,
go down.
The result is that it will probably be a smaller.
smaller box
Structure,
than,
yeah.
yep, yep, than what's, right. And that's sometimes very good to have those water hydraulics, you know.
I see there's a chip seal County 27 from Hazen to 1806.
that's for a different year though.
Yeah, if you look in the second
Oh,
column, it'll tell you what
2025.
years.
Okay.
Yeah, and in actuality too, like Charlie and I were discussing, you know, even for that 26 overlay and 20, which would be 2022 if we were to go with that. 2023 has that chip sealing that portion and then patching, so 2023 for construction is a pretty low-key year there. And actually, if we were to overlay it next year,
But that
we
would
wouldn't
be,
have to chip seal it, or we, you know what I mean, or we wouldn't have, we could push it back 2 years if we had to with that overlay.
2023 then would be a good year to build your funds back up
Mhm.
for 2024, which
I'll
looks
get with
like
Ryland and
Like
see
a
for
very
sure what their,
extravagant year.
I didn't say that looks like
what their,
a big one.
Plan is,
future is there,
yeah,
right, for that county 26 and go from there on that project.
because
We
it's
know that it doesn't pay to
be a pretty hard
sit
pill.
here and assume.
Right, well,
Right.
and
I mean, either way, it's gonna be assuming, who knows what's
Yeah.
down the road, but if it's for sure that
Well,
that's what they
a
want.
lot can change in the next
Right.
5 years with
Yeah, we
what's
don't
been,
know.
But it'd be a hard pill to swallow, you just did an overlay
Right.
and then you tear out
And
the
have to tear
pavement.
it up.
Wow,
Yeah.
this was gravy train idea, huh?
yeah,
Right.
that's why I brought it up.
Right,
because-
It's important to
exactly.
think about those things.
It's very important,
Mhm.
because,
Would that
Uh,
be right here?
right,
Would that change this?
And I mean,
number right
instead of
here?
an overlay, maybe you do a slurry coat or something.
Right.
make the
or
fraction
just a
cost is
leveling
okay.
coat or a patch, yep.
The only other question I have for you is your revenue is like, you generate $140,000 in revenue, like in county road fund. Is there something different we could be doing, something more we can be doing to generate revenues for your departments? So to offset some of the levying, like
Well,
your permitting has gone down tremendously. You know, when I first started, it was like upwards of 150,000, and now I'm budgeting 20,000. Is there a reason why we're not getting as many permits? Is it just people not
Just,
applying for them anymore?
well, a little bit of that, I mean, but I think overall, I mean, out west, like that county one, that, a lot of oil rig activity going up there, and it's hit and
Yeah.
miss now, it's not that much, you know, but some of them are, I mean, they're $1,000 permit each time, one way, you know. Well, if you don't have that many going up there, there's $1,000 every time, so,
one other area, may be also, Shannon and the board, you know, we did, tar cracking, for instance, Golden Valley, we done that city for years and years, and, I can't quite remember what that amount was. Of course, we have the product, but it's one of those things, we have the manpower, and then we had parking lots, which you maybe are doing some, I don't know, Ken, but like the church parking lots, and we charged them all back. And then, like the housing authority, that's another entity that we can do and charge back to them guys, just to offset a little bit of your man-hour costs, and of course, we got the tar costs, but, you know, we got the equipment there, so just well utilize what we can, you know, to get a little more revenue. Something to think about.
but on the flip side too, we got other, you know,
Well, we
we
on,
got less employees too than I started here in 2010, we had 22, and now we're down to 17 or, yeah,
16, I believe.
16.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you take, we gotta do our crack seals, that's what we,
Yeah.
you know, we do half
Yeah.
every year.
I know,
So, I mean, unless the guy's gonna sit there and charge a bunch of money to make it worth our time, I mean, what we were charging back then wasn't that much. I mean,
well,
where do you draw the line?
well,
We're
but it,
taking time away from graveling, we're taking time away from cutting trees. I mean, all that stuff has to be done too, just like those section lines, we gotta get in there and get that tree down. It's just, I mean, all that stuff takes time. You only got so many people, you can only do so much stuff.
So the decrease in 10 mills, my honest opinion wouldn't be to decrease it 10 mills between, because you get mills from aid to secondary, unorganized, and county road. I feel we
But one
should,
of those is going away, right?
aid to secondary is.
Aid to secondary.
I feel at this time we should probably levy, probably not the full 10 mil, like not change it at all, but I don't think we should drop it the full 10 mils either, because we don't wanna, because where I have him levied now is basically running his accounts to nothing. I think we should leave some cash reserve in there. In county road, I believe we should keep at 10 mils. And then secondary roads, we have at 7.78, which can go all the way up to 15, and unorganized is at 12.51, which could go all the way to 18. I don't know if we need to necessarily levy that high, because you're dropping $500,000 out of there, but I wouldn't go all the way down to cutting 10 out between the three, because you're still gonna wanna build your reserves for the future years, so that you're not
And,
running it dry.
and again, you still have these unknowns, just what he ran across, these bridges go.
Right,
We-
and like Charlie said, we're not done with those.
We, you know, down in my country, there's the federal aid bridge by the Franks there, and that was put in before the 66. So that's an old wooden structure in there. That'll come one of these days.
That's just one of them.
That's just one of them. There, we still got several of those kind, yeah.
Ken, this expenditures for 2022, originally we had quite a bit more in the equipment line. It's dropped down to 200,000. Are you happy with that?
Well, no, it's dropped down to 200,000 in the column that says no salary. If you look at the column that says 3% salary, I put everything that Ken requested in there, just with a 3% salary. So,
But the one with no salary is at 200,000.
right, but if you go to his other line item, if you look at the the 3% salary line, he's got the 441 in there.
Why are we looking at the 3%? I thought we were looking at the zero today. We're still looking at 3%. Let me go through some numbers with you guys. You guys, I'm not sure you guys are hearing what I'm saying. I must be saying it totally wrong. The county road fund, you don't have any, we,
Where are we at?
right here. There's the county road fund, page 9, right there. And then,
Right here.
yep, this here's the expenditure line, back here, right there. Okay. We don't have any money in reserve. That, if you look on page 9, there's no money in appropriation reserve. The road fund should always have some money in reserve. In my opinion, now let me go through this whole story. In my opinion, that should have $500,000 in there. We should be budgeting that. We don't, on line 8, we don't have anything in delinquent taxes. It's recommended that you have about not over 5%, so if you put 2% in there of our revenue, it's about 55,000 there. I'm looking at the budget that says zero raise, because I don't know that we can afford anything else, because we're looking at the total mills for that. We're gonna be out of money. The
Okay,
year
right.
the year 2021, and that's the minimum column on your expense sheet. Down there where it shows expenses for miscellaneous, it shows $5,000. We know already that that's 140,000 over, so we can plug in another 140,000 in there.
Okay, right now, on the road fund, we've cut that, how much?
530,000.
530 on the road fund. So she can show that in our,
Yep, we can show that as.
show that in our, in the end. And what does that affect our total mills by?
It will roughly drop them by 10.
10.12.
Our total mill,
Yes.
not
That's
just the road
500,000.
mills, total mills.
That's the same thing.
Well, sometimes I get told, no, it's this amount. Okay. And that is calculating with the 3% line or not?
Well, either way it would be.
It would just be,
Either way,
okay,
it's
sorry,
dropping.
yes, that's 10 mills, gotcha. Okay,
Then if you
I
had the
think-
500,000 back into the reserve, Gene, that eliminates that, so it's at a wash.
that's if we want 500,000 in reserve.
It's just good budgeting, that is correct, if we want that.
Right.
If we've
What's our total
completely,
budget amount?
For county road.
No, total budget,
38,54,779,
Right there.
that's our expenses.
that's the road.
He wants like for the whole entire county budget.
Yeah, way up front here.
Well, the county road doesn't come out of the general fund, so
No, but it's still,
Okay.
Ken, how much money do you need for all the lease agreements that we have for your equipment?
For 2022, I'd have to figure that one out for sure. Because we have the 3 machines for 2022. so.
Okay.
Is it covered under this lease amount?
You mean for budgeted in there?
Well, because that says lease and purchase,
Yeah.
so I don't know if you
Did you
just
have a
came in.
breakdown of that 441, of how you were gonna spend it on that line item?
Yeah, I don't have it.
Okay.
Another thing that we're doing, and Shanna's mentioned this, and I mentioned it last time I was here, we're taking $1.1 million out of our present reserve to balance the 2022 budget. So we're taking last year's or the previous year's revenue that we should have in reserve, and we're putting it back into 2022, and then you wanna use last year's money for a raise. This year, 2022 should be self-sufficient with the raise, without using those reserves. Your budget should be, you keep borrowing from the previous years, we're gonna be broke. In 2023, if we follow this present budget, and if we use the same value for cost, we won't have enough mills. We'll be 23, looks like we're gonna be 23 mills short for 2023, using maximum mills of 43. Now, I just reduced 2023's budget by 900,000 because we took out a project, and there's a savings there, so that if we don't do all those projects, we can save some. But we're at we're at least 6 mills over to 43 next year. How are you gonna fund 2023 if we follow this and you're using last year's money for this year's raise? The money isn't there. Your budget every year should be self-supporting. Take out that it's $1,106,033. You take that out of this county road fund, that's previous year's money. You take that out of there and just leave that in reserves, you don't have any money left. This needs to be looked at. You take that reserve money out of that cash and invest, or that revenue, all those transfers.
Okay, I think we need to just focus on the road department right now.
This is the
because we
road
have
department. I
Ken on
am
here right
talking
now.
only the road department.
No, you're talking salaries overall.
No, no, I am not. I'm
So
talking,
you're saying the road department wouldn't get a 3% increase, but the rest would?
no, I'm not saying that. I'm talking just about the road department. I'm saying for the road department, you're using last year's revenue and you're anticipating a possible raise in the road department. I'm saying we can't afford that.
But your taxes came in on that's how the system is set up. I know what you're saying, Mark. But the only way to correct that, the way I see, is nobody pays their taxes until 2022, January, and then we correct it. But for all these years, you have been pulling December's tax money to pay January's bills, because all the bills didn't come in December neither. So I don't know how you can correct that.
I'm not even going there, Wayne. I'm
Well-
talking about the actual revenue that we have in the bank.
Mm-hmm.
We're adding that to the road fund. We're paying our budget in the road fund. And in order to pay the budget in the road fund, we have to use last year's revenue, not this year's. We're off by over $1 million. I'm not sure what language I need to say, because I'm not using the correct words. We should not be using last year's revenue. Take it out of there and then see where we're at. Take it out of there completely. Take all those transfers out of there, Shanna, and then tell us where we're gonna be for the year.
I told you, they have $149,000 in revenue.
Who does?
Besides,
Okay, 149,000, our budget is 3 million.
but you also have to remember, you have state aid that,
Yep, you can add all those back in there.
that's a transfer they automatically get, it's not a levied
Mhm.
transfer,
You have state aid.
and township roads.
State highway revenues at 958,000, other revenues for unorganized roads is 72,000. Aid to secondary roads is 67,000. Then she goes, other revenue for counties, I'm not sure, that's 149,300, that's her number. Township roads is 85,000. That's other revenue, that's already computed in this. That we're still gonna, using all that other revenue, we're still gonna be short. We won't have enough money in 2023. You're using everything we got for 2022. And what bothers me is that
Somebody's going home.
not only are we using last year's revenue for this year's bill, you're still anticipating that you want to give a raise with last year's money. It doesn't compute.
Do we have any other questions for Ken?
Can you get me that information on how much it would be for the lease of the three,
Yeah.
please, Ken?
Yep.
Thank you.
And we've,
Oh yeah, just the breakdown of how you computed your 441. I think that was really the only line item I had a question on
Yeah,
besides
I'll
the
get that to you.
contractors and consultant fees.
Shanna, on your 3% salary line, what is your end of next year's balance? What's it gonna be?
$51,266.52.
Why on this expenditure sheet does it show a negative 478?
Because I just computed out the 530,000 that we took out of payment to contractors.
Well, you subtracted 500,000, so you end up with 23,000 left over.
No, I subtracted 530,000 like we discussed and put 970,000 in there. Because that is the number Ken just gave us.
So without putting anything in reserve, we're gonna have about 500, how much left? It comes out to 60,000?
51,266.52.
51,000. So, Gene, in answer to your question, without putting anything in reserve and using all of last year's money, except for $200, 214,000, we're going to have 51,000 left over.
And just note that with the 3% salary, that's what it is, you'll have 51,266.52 left over. With no salary increase, you'll have $55,000 left over.
You're saying that salary increase is only costing the road department $4,000?
That's, let me just look here. Oh, hold on. I'm gonna change that back to 441.
Okay, using that number, Gene,
It's about 225,000.
okay. Using that 51,000 at the end of, with their salary, you used up all the funds for 2023. So we would have to levy, let's say our budget for 2023 is $3 million. How many mills is that? At the present rate?
Be about 60.
60 mills. How much do we have for the roads? 43.
But you also have to take into consideration in 2023, they only have $320,000 worth of projects.
I did that. I reduced the 2023.
That's a third of what we're spending this year.
I took 954,000 off of the 2023 budget. I subtracted that already. That's where I got to my 3 million. So, Trevor, you just said that would be how many mills?
Just
Just a
guess,
guess?
60.
I can punch it out. 60 mills and we're at 43. We have 17 mills that we don't have for 2023. Where are you gonna get it? That means we need to keep all the mills that we possibly can in 2022 to try to get part of that difference. And we can't spend it on raises. that would broaden it. My numbers are based on 0 raise. I'm not begrudging anybody a raise. I'm saying, guys, we keep using last year's money to help supplement our budgets, and we're going broke. 2023, we won't have enough levies. That's all I got to say. This is just the road department. How are you guys gonna pay for 2023?
Any other questions, Ken? For Ken?
And we're raising our mill levy by, the road department levies are gonna go up 32.5% this year, as they are right now. They're going up 32%.
The road?
Yes. And next year, we don't even have enough levies.
Okay, you're gonna show that change then, give us an update. Okay. No more questions for Ken? Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Ken.
Now I got the pages mixed up.
Just a second. This one here.
Dean, step out.
32.
Pardon?
Just for a second.
Okay.
And is that the same as on here? We'll see, huh?
I don't know.
Oh.
Then I have 33 also.
Shannon, do you know what page the sheriff is on?
It's in the general fund.
Okay,
Let's see here, page 7.
7. Oh, that's close to the front. There we go.
I'm gonna look at your sheet. You know mine, is it right?
Must be his budget sheet right behind it, right?
Right here, 7? This 7?
Yep, then 8 would be the,
Versus,
Good day.
how are we doing today?
Well, not bad.
Dean?
How are you? I'm sorry. Good.
That's fine.
company award,
32 and 33.
shouldn't put these in order.
I didn't have time, I
Appropriation
just
for the sheriff.
tabbed them.
It's on page 7. 128.
You're looking at revenue.
No, I'm not. I'm looking on page 7 where it says county sheriff, 1,815,197.
Okay, on the worksheet, on the total appropriation,
That's for the whole general fund. Armin. The county sheriff is in the general fund.
Okay.
so.
So you need to pull out his
I got you.
sheets that he turned in to the board on page
Jeez.
32 from AS Farmager.
Well, 32 to 33, maybe?
Yep.
Page 32.
Yep.
Finally.
Oh, I know why. I got it.
I got a lot of handwritten stuff on there too. Not that I did. Came in from you. Or somebody, or Dean. Okay, any questions for Dean?
I have some questions for Shanna, if you guys don't mind, but Dean, when the time comes, I'd like to ask some questions.
Go ahead, I don't have,
Okay, Sheriff, looking, Shanna, the sheriff's budget is, his total expenditure appropriation is 1.8 million, right? Okay, what is the task force? looking for the youth bureau too, please.
Task force is page 58. Total appropriation is 415,000.
Oh, I got a mix up here.
The youth bureau's page 54 for 197.
I don't have a page.
197,000? And special vehicle?
Did nobody review their budget before budget day?
I have it here up in front of me, but I want your numbers.
It's the same thing I gave you.
I don't have a 58.
Well,
Just,
they're on these ones. On Excel.
Special vehicle.
Is page 50.
50.
Youth bureau is 54. Somebody say something about youth bureau?
Yep.
Yeah,
How much was special vehicle?
53.
Appropriations?
Trying to get a special vehicle.
What is the total cost for appropriations for special vehicle?
76,260. Well, 36,260 for the leases.
Page
Total,
36,260.
so what's the other 40 then?
That's
I could've
the
brought
sheriff
you some
budgeted
down.
in his line item for new vehicles
So,
to
right,
be transferred into there.
okay, if you add all those numbers together, I'm gonna do that really quick, and I'll tell you what the total sheriff's budget is, 1800. It's 4,703,260. What's the total appropriation for the general fund?
Mervin,
Well, I wanna know the percentage, I wanna present this to the
you
board.
have all the information in front of you.
Where's the 48?
It's been nice to have this in front of me before I'm put right on the spot.
I understand, and I don't mean to do that on this, but total appropriation shows 5,238,563.
No, that's not, plus you have to do the transfers out. So it's 5,946,233.
I'm gonna say no, we don't do the transfers out, cause I already added those to the sheriff's cost.
Well, that whole transfers out isn't all sheriff.
I understand that. That's why
There's
I'm,
one agent in there.
that's why I'm using a total appropriation of 5,238, that's the lower number.
I don't understand what you're doing.
What I wanna do is I wanna express to the board roughly what percentage of our total general fund is the sheriff's department. That's all I'm trying to do.
And?
Why?
Why?
It's important. That's where most of our money is going. If we have to cut expenses and understand how to balance our budget, we have to know where all our expenses are going. That's why. Let's just say he's 98% of our budget. Well, nobody else gets anything then. That's a very rude and crude scenario, but that's what I'm trying to figure out here.
But you can't set a budget based off of everybody gets a certain amount.
I understand that.
Every
So I
department
don't-
operates differently.
Yeah.
I understand all that.
There's certain things that the sheriff's department needs to provide the safety for our community. So there's no way that you can say, just because they get a certain percentage of our budget, that they have to cut their budget.
I'm not saying that.
Well,
I'm
that's,
just giving you a scenario of approximately where our
Well,
monies are going.
even if it's 80% of our budget or 10% of our budget, I need to know what you're getting at. So, for the lack of using your words, being rude, what's the difference if it's 80% of our budget or if it's 10% of our budget? It is what it is. Well, it's not something that gets changed overnight.
Understand that. See if I can say this in the right words, and I probably won't. if we have to make some cuts to balance our budget, because right now we're using CARES money to balance our budget, and we shouldn't be doing. If we need to balance our budget, where do we make our cuts? Now we're gonna look at each line item of the sheriff and see how much he needs. Then we're gonna assign value to some of the other funds, because some of those funds might have more value, so we can't cut that one, so we might have to trim something else. I'm just giving you an idea roughly where our funds are going.
I think, but today, what we need to do is just come up with a preliminary budget and not make major cuts today. We just need to have a footprint, something to start with today, and if we wanna do cuts down the road, we can do those cuts. We need to have something to start with today. I mean, even if you throw out and say, throw out a number of 100, well, if you wanna get it to 80, that's fine, but today, we need, whatever, we need to have something to start with. And put it out there and work with those numbers, and right now, we got Dean here to ask him questions. Does anybody got a question for Dean as far as his budget is concerned? Do you have a particular item in the budget you wanna ask him? Is there a concern about any item in the budget, in his budget that you have a question about? That's what we have him here for. He don't need to hear about the entire budget and where the mills are. We have him here to ask questions of his budget.
I don't have any questions for you, Dean.
I think we're done with you.
My questions have to do with the board.
So, thank you for coming.
You're welcome. Thanks, Dean. Thanks, Ashley. Thanks, Michelle.
I wanna meet with you later, Dean,
Okay.
if you're around.
How long are you gonna go?
Hopefully not that long.
Okay, I'll wait.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Okay.
can I address the board about the email I sent you yesterday about the cash reserves and, what those should look like and that?
Sure, I didn't print them out, so.
Okay, I did my math. So in checking with other counties, I received a couple of policies, one from Cass County and one from Stutzman County. And in their policy, they actually have county policies that reflect what the minimum general fund balance should be, what the minimum county road balance should be. And they state between 15% and 17% of their prior year's appropriations. So our total appropriations for 2021 for the general fund were $5,714,429. If we take 15% of that and put that in our cash reserve line item, that's $857,000. So if you take your mills with the 3% increase and the reserve of 15%, you're gonna be at 50.49 mils, which would be an 8% overall budget increase. If you did 17%, you'd be at 52.67 mils, which would be an overall budget increase of 10%. Counties do not carry over their whole fund balances. They go based upon their policies and what their minimum reserve is. And you look at Cass County, which is way more of a budget than what Mercer County is, and they're still carrying over 15 to 17%. And I sent Jean those policies that they had written, and they have within their policy, they have, okay, so what if you get down to less than 15% as a reserve? And then there's different ways, they say that you have to be up to, they have set in their policy that, in 1 year, you have to get back to.
That's a policy in the county.
Yep, in 1 year, you have to be back between 12.5% and 15%, and then 3 years, you should be between 10 and 12.5%. If you're deficient that much, and if you're deficient, less than 10%, you have to replenish it over the period of 5 years.
Okay,
So, that's what I just wanna throw that out there, that we don't need to be putting in a cash reserve of 1.3 million, like I have in there on page 3 today, because that brings us up to the 57.96 mils. We don't need that. Most counties are going with 15%. There is no statute that says there's a minimum, that you have to carry anything over. There's no statute. The only statute is that the maximum is 75% carryover. So I just wanna throw that out there while we're throwing all these numbers out, saying that we're broke and we don't have any money, because it's absolutely not true.
And that was gonna be my question, is there a state statute that says there's a minimum amount that you have to carry over? And what these counties have is they have it in their policy that they're gonna, at what amount they're gonna carry over. And I'm not saying we shouldn't have any carryover. I agree we should have some, but
I have a question for our auditor. How would you recommend that we handle our non-reoccurring revenues, such as the CARES funds, or American Rescue? I'll just talk about the CARES funds.
That CARES funding that we received for the law enforcement payroll was never budgeted as revenue in any budget. We didn't know we were getting that when we did the budget last year. That was extra monies that we received that we did not anticipate, we did not balance our budget off of. That wasn't there. And the ARPA funds that we're getting has no bearing on any fund in here, because it went strictly into the CARES fund. It has no bearing on what the general fund's gonna end at, what the county road's gonna end at. Those funds are not being projected in this budget as keeping us afloat.
Okay, question. You show our cash reserve as $1,376,195.57.
And that came from what the projected year-end balance was gonna be.
And that year-end balance came from money that was put in there by CARES. There's $838,514 that's CARES money that's projected in this budget on that line item. And I can go right back here and I can show you right where our CARES money came from. In 2020,
But is this relevant?
you just got done saying none of the CARES money is in our budget. 838,
wasn't.
it is now.
But, okay, Marvin, it wasn't used to balance the 2021 budget, is what I exactly said. And it's irrelevant at this point, because we're still gonna carry over a 15% cash reserve, which is what is sensible, and we can still make the budget work. So
If we carry over 15%, we're going to be using the CARES money.
So what are you saying? We shouldn't be using any revenue that ever comes in? We should shred this budget and just say, turn the lights off for a whole year because Marvin thinks we're broke?
Let's not get drastic. What I'm trying to say is that non-reoccurring revenue is not supposed to be part of your operating budget. And it appears that it is. If it is, we need to take it out of there. That's all I'm saying. I'm talking about the CARES money.
I filled out the budget worksheets that were given to me by the state auditor's office the way they were supposed to be filled out.
Right, and it includes the CARES money.
Well, because that was revenue that the county brought in that actually has 0 stipulations on how to be spent.
Okay, so
So
there.
it can be in the general fund.
So it can be in the general fund, but it's non-reoccurring revenue. It should not be represented in your budgetary process because it skews your operational
But it does.
viability.
So what are your plans for that CARES money, Marvin, since we shouldn't be using it for operations?
It should be possibly be used, and that's another thing I'll bring up right now. Nothing is in this budget for tax and financial software. Our county has been without tax and financial software since 2016.
That's not true.
We spent over $300 and some thousand on tax and financial software, and we never got it. We need to get tax and financial software that works. Our reports are inaccurate, our AS400 reports. So what would I use the CARES money for? That's what I would use it for.
Well, we have the CD interest of the passport interest accounts that we don't allocate towards nothing. We don't, use it for anything within the budget. We could look into software using those funds.
And we won't be able to afford it using that little tiny bit of money. So what we're saying is that I'm pointing out that we are using part of the CARES money for our budget.
I just don't understand why that money
It's not,
is being held up here like untouchable. That's what it was for, is to keep the county going. That's what it's for, is to reduce your mill levies.
Then-
That's what it's for.
Then if we use it to purchase tax and financial software that will reduce that expense, we will not be affecting our operational cost, it will be saving us money.
We don't even have any software expense at this point.
I know it's because we don't have tax and financial, let's not stop the argument. We're not
Okay,
supposed to be
we're-
using it in operations.
All right, enough of this. We're gonna, right now, we need to pass a preliminary budget.
We need to pass a
What I'd like to see is, I'd like to see, I don't even know which one this is anymore. But I'd like to see a budget with the reduction in the road amount that was shown, that was discussed today. Have like a 800,000 carryover and 3% salary increase across the board. And see where we are after that. That would be my recommendation. And then, I don't even know what, and once we see that, I would say approve that as a preliminary budget.
What were the
So,
three things? 3% salary increase, reduce county road by 530.
yeah. And then it was discussed about a care, 800.
$857,000
Well, I said 800,000, but if you wanna do 857, fine. And start with that as a baseline. We gotta, you're gonna hear me say this probably 15 more times. We need to start somewhere with a baseline and then work from there. So that we know, and right now, I don't know what we can approve today without knowing those numbers and where the budget is with calculating that. So I don't even know what we would approve.
Well, we have to approve, we have to, so.
We have till August 10th to approve a budget. We have time for another meeting, Mr. Chairman, if we chose to do that. We can get these numbers and have another meeting. There's nothing that says we
Pardon?
have to do this today.
Pardon?
Or you can recess for 30 minutes and I can go take care of it.
All right,
Let's do that.
well, recess for 30 minutes and our auditor will get those numbers crunched for us and bring it back.
So we'll reconvene at 1:30?
Okay, we'll recess till 1:30.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Remember, on your cell phone, that's 1:28.
Is that with the hands down?
Thank you, Shannon.
I have hands down.
Hands down. You know, I bet you the young people, they don't see a clock.
Take your number cruncher with you.
I think they still have them now.
Yeah, they do.
Oh, in school they still
Do
have.
you need help with anything?
Because otherwise, there was a conversation the other day, and a fellow said, well, quarter after 12 or something. And he was thinking a quarter, you know, so he said a quarter, oh, that's 25 minutes, you know.
Oh.
And I said, oh, yeah, he came 25 minutes late or something, you know, oh, quarter after 12. So, oh, good.
Depends on what your quarter's based on.
It's good that we still
They do.
using a clock system or something,
Yeah.
because, you know, it's just.
And that also proves that they're using change in the classroom too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where you got the 25.
That's where we got 25, right?
Yeah. It's coming from somewhere.
take it out of my notebook.
Does it?
Yep.
Well, you shouldn't have so much loop caught in front of
I
you.
know, it's just
I
all
think you
this,
have that special
all this
wall.
green stuff here.
That special wallet.
I got, what, about 6 ones in there. Not 1 0 0.
Is that 15% or is that, how are you doing?
That's his tidbit money.
Yeah.
Right?
Did you guys start combining already?
Yes, that's what I was doing yesterday, and we
Going,
went like.
there was no dew last night anyway, was there?
We got all the trucks full, we were done about 8 o'clock, because we had all the trucks full. But, yeah, it was like, but you should see us riding.
You should keep it under 10 miles an hour.
I'll tell you what,
How
I hit, oh, it was just over 7, and I went, whoa, and I slowed her down to about 6.2. I've never driven like that in my life.
You know what your dad would be doing?
Yes, I know, he'd be out there telling me you're going way too fast.
He'd be out there with the shovel and showing you, how come is all this in my shovel? He could run
Oh,
7
it's-
miles an hour. I
It's
can
just,
tell you.
it's just not there, it's, so I'm just basically driving to make sure it cuts it.
Try to keep it semi.
Yeah, cause
Plus-
these new machines, they wanna load them up too.
Plus, of course, the
It just
road.
got me head, so there's darn near no straw. I've never had so many problems with the return. Returns cost like full, cause that's what you're getting is chaff in there. Yeah, grasshoppers. You ought to see that when you get anything green. Oh, one green kochia plant, you start getting close and it just comes alive.
Whole
And
plant
he-
starts jumping.
Oh, it is, and then we can hit that spot with air seeder, or they forgot to put it in gear, so you got this half-mile strip that skips. Holy moly, is that, that just moves. But yeah, it's, the field, I'm actually helping, that might be on, so I don't wanna say the name, I'm helping a local farmer. And, yeah, it's, the crops are not, the field we're in now is, on a normal year it'd be pathetic, but it's actually, one of the better ones. We're getting some grain off of it, which is,
It's where you're producing positive is positive.
yeah, and that's sad to say. It's sad to say right now, well, it's pretty good, but on a normal year it would be like super bad. It's just barely, would be just barely feasible to harvest. Some of that stuff we're harvesting, I don't know if it's actually feasible, I don't know. I don't know what that would go by. It's tough.
I don't know how wide, I mean, you hear, this like the whole western half of the US is kind of like, where, is there anywhere that's producing average or above average in this?
I don't know if there's any place, I don't think there's any place above average. I hear there are pockets that the crop is doing, once again, they say it's pretty good. Well, is it pretty good as compared to this year?
Right, that's a relative statement.
Right. Are you getting 90 bushel wheat, or are you getting, 30 bushel wheat? You got anything that runs 20, 30 this year, you got a great crop. So is that what they're basing it on? But that's what I've heard, there are pockets that, but I've also heard people who come in this area, they go, holy cow, is it dry here? They go, man, you guys got it bad. I go, no. Yeah.
I think we're about the worst. And I think Minnesota's, at least the parts that I know, are better than here, but only just.
And that's what I've been hearing, it's not.
I'm not sure that we're the worst in North Dakota, because I've heard other counties are really, really hurt.
I meant North Dakota as a whole.
Oh, I see what you're
The
saying.
worst, probably.
Yeah, we're in the desert scenario.
I know a guy from Center, he was telling me, he ranches west, just east of Center. He came up here, right in the Hazen area to help with some cattle. And he compared his area to here, and he said, we are way drier here than just east of Center. So, yeah, it is crazy. We drove all the way to, Pembina here a few weeks ago, the way from that, just went driving. Yeah, it's bad across the whole. I mean, we went we went north of Garrison and got to Minot, and then from Minot, we drove back roads all the way over to, we ended up way north up by Botno, and then across over Pembina, and then back down through back roads, and I never did stop at any of the fields, but the craziest thing was, this was like summer fallow on the right-hand side of the road. It was, you could see that it had been seeded, and then it came up and just burned off, and then there's probably a patch over in that low spot. And on the left-hand side, it looked like it was about not quite knee-high and green. I'm going, what? And I don't know why. I should have stopped, pulled in, and walked into the field to see what actually was going on. But like I say, when you're driving down the road and you look in a field, you could have one wheat plant every 6 inches, and if they're that high, and it, it'll look pretty good.
Yeah.
Until you walk in, you go, holy crap, this is thin as heck. And then open the head, and there might be nothing in there. It might have been planted at just the right time where it was able to grow, and then was still green. Because I heard that a lot, is, the full head will be there, but I've heard many reports, you open it and there's not even.
And that's, not being from a farming background myself, but when I drive by, I don't routinely see fields where I'm like, oh, this person looks like they're doing fine, they must be somehow, but yeah.
Yep.
If you walk in there and actually examine the plant.
You see 80 bushel straw and only 5 bushel crop.
Right.
And now, right now, we've got a field with corn's about, it might average 5, a little over 5 foot, probably 6 foot. But what we've noticed is the plants are falling over. And I haven't tried it myself, but I've heard you go up and just push on the plants and they'll fall right over. They're drying up on the bottom.
Now, we had in Minnesota, my dad tried to go to a farm, my dad has a garden in his corn. And we had a windstorm come through, and he said it's the first time ever where it didn't, we've had plenty of windstorms where the corn bends, but this time it was all
Put it right down.
completely flat, which is probably because of.
Yep,
because of the dry.
yeah, it's just so dry out there. And that's, you can see ears on the corn plant, but
Yeah.
if I get time like today, I'm gonna go and open up an ear and see what's in there, if there's anything in it. But, yeah, we've got soybeans. I haven't gone into the field, I need to do that, open a pod, see if there's pods and what's in the pods. But, yeah, I've already seen corn being cut for hay, laying it down, because there's just nothing there. I have heard that west, and I don't know what west means and how far.
Relative again.
Yeah, relative again, that sunflowers they're taking them down for hay already. Just nothing there. So,
We always grew corn for silage, so didn't matter if it met great quality or not,
Yeah.
chapter.
but you had corn in the cob.
Well, yeah.
Now I don't think there's corn in the cob. I think those ears there's nothing there, except whatever you'd call it, with almost like a husked hull.
So is it not even
I don't know if there's kernels in there of any sort. Like I said, I need to open up an ear and take a look, but yeah, it's gonna turn out to be hay.
I was in some fields last week and like, most of them didn't even have tassels yet, let alone ears.
Yeah, right, it's not good. I've seen a lot of corn cut already for hay.
I'd say if you had irrigation, you're having a hell of a year. I mean, you went
You
through all
know,
the water.
I've heard that also, they can't keep up.
Yeah.
It's so dry that they're irrigating and it just,
This is constant.
yeah, it's not looking real good for them either, because they just can't get enough water on it. Because when you think about
You've got
it,
a full fields.
on an average year, what do we get? 15 inches of rain?
Yeah. And we've had
And,
4.
if we've had,
If.
yeah.
I would guess it's
So,
probably more than 15.
You,
The line is 15.
check on the irrigation system, how much water it takes to make an inch.
Oh, it's a lot.
And it's way more than you think. Because I always tell the wife that when she waters the garden. I say, put a rain gauge out there. And water till you got a half inch. You'd be amazed how much you gotta water to get a half inch of rain on your,
Well, I was talking to Myron Hafner
yeah.
just the other day, and he's been keeping his lawn pretty green. He goes, I last month, and I'm like, I don't know, every time I'm over here, you're watering something. I don't know, 20,000 gallons, he goes 65,000 gallons. And, I mean,
Yeah,
his grass looks like it's, on an average, it's
60 times 3 is,
180.
yep, 180,
yeah.
just on his water bill.
His city bill was like 200 and some bucks.
Yeah, it's gotta be, and that's, cause the wife gave me grief to begin with, or earlier in the year, and said, we gotta water, I said, I ain't watering. I said, you have no idea how much water that's gonna take. I said, it's a lot. Now, I don't hear her say anything, cause a lot of our neighbors are brown also.
I got kind of a green patch next to the garden. I'm thinking of just scrapping the garden, just take it out. I took half of it out last
Okay.
weekend.
Our cucumbers, they're crazy. Plants, about that big in diameter, maybe big. And finally the wife said, well, I gotta look if there's any cukes on. Holy moly, is that one of those little plants producing? She's getting way, all the slicers she wants. It's unreal. What's that? Yeah, I got- Yeah, watering, well, we do water quite a bit. I know my daughter, it's actually her house, so she has said something about the water bill. I said, well, bring it over, we'll take care of the water bill, cause she noticed it.
Well, and, you know, back to the irrigation thing. I remember having a class in college, cause I had the ag and biosystems engineering, and one of the classes was like grass waterway and irrigation. And we actually did the calculations on, you got this much rain, how you would change
What
your.
kind of irrigation would
Well, how you would
match this
change it,
level?
no, not so much match it, but if you were looking for, say, 20 inches of rain equivalent, like how you change your.
Can you irrigate that much? I was gonna say 20 inches, you can't, I can't really.
No, but I mean, like, if you got, say, 12 inches of rain, you needed to make up the difference through irrigation,
Okay,
there's, you're calculating how many gallons and how much.
phenomenal.
It was
that would be.
phenomenal,
Yes.
insane.
Cause I know there are, you can, it's out there, how many gallons of water come down in a rain to make 1 inch of rain? And it's numbers.
Yeah, you think about that, even when, I mean, even when we're just getting sprinkles like this, but when you take all the sprinkles everywhere and
Yeah.
put that all together, how much
It's-
water that cloud is actually.
It's so many
and
gallons.
that real
we
rain
can't-
event.
It's those
Clouds
trillion
weigh
numbers.
millions of tons.
Yeah, it's just, so yeah, to water a quarter of corn, I can't even imagine how many gallons you gotta put on to
Well, it's in the
equate to one,
billions easily.
to equate to 1 inch. So that's what, I've heard that, it's, they're having trouble keeping up, cause you just, and when it's hot and it's dry, you lose a lot just to evaporation on top of it.
Well, that was also in the calculation.
Yeah.
There was evaporation too.
Yeah, the minus factor.
It makes a difference when it's drizzling out or raining out and you're irrigating. So now you're adding water to add water, which is great, it'll absorb, but when it's 100 in the shade and the sun is blaring, you got a 20-mile-an-hour wind, a lot of that just goes.
And not that I've enjoyed the haze at all.
Oh, man.
But think of, we've been in the 90s, so we could have easily been in the hundreds for
Yep.
2 weeks if we didn't have that haze.
What the heck was with that a few days ago? You couldn't see but about 2 miles, and it was a south wind. Where was that coming from? They say
I think it was
Montana
raining.
and Canada.
It was Friday, was the worst day, I think, here. But it was, I don't know, it was Thursday, the day before, which wasn't too bad here in Minnesota, which is even further from it. It was way worse there than it ever was here.
Okay.
They said it was the worst day in Minnesota history for air quality, and all of it coming from Montana and stuff. But
Yeah, that's
my mom
what-
said you couldn't breathe.
I heard
if you
that
went
they were,
outside.
on the radio, I heard them talking about Fargo.
Yeah.
And I go, oh, poor Fargo, if it's that bad in Fargo, I mean, what do we got?
And we were fine that day, but then the next day came and
Yeah.
it wasn't as bad, but we got our taste of that.
Well, that's what I was saying, that day we had it really bad, and I'm going, well, could have been that much worse in Fargo? Apparently.
Yeah, well, and even if your ground wind is coming from the south, your upper
It's-
atmosphere
yeah.
could be going anywhere.
It must
must be, yeah, cause it was bad.
Cause I was watching the news and they were showing patterns and how
Okay.
it was, essentially what it was doing, it was like accumulating over like Fargo and Minnesota, the state of Minnesota.
Yeah, yeah, my mom said you could see, they had shown on their weather, you know, from space. You know, satellite images from space, and you could see, but you could see clouds like over in the Dakotas and stuff, and then you got over Minnesota, and the clouds themselves, it was in the upper, you know, the clouds themselves you could not see anywhere, it was just the clouds, it was a cloudy day, but the clouds themselves were covered over by a complete.
Yeah, so there, and of course, they say, we don't heard it, they say there's really no relief in sight. It's gonna be like this way for a while.
Well, yeah, the one station was saying that you could have this haze until into October.
Let's get a bunch of snow out in Montana to put out those fires, and then let's have it melt, and get a bunch of water.
Yeah, snow in the mountains is fun.
Over there, over there.
They say that's the best way to put out forest fires, snow.
Mhm.
Yeah, Canada.
I'm sure glad I had my sinus surgery a few years ago, otherwise I'd be hurting, man.
Yeah, I bet.
Still not. Couldn't imagine.
And I told on Montana, they said.
They said, don't go outside, right?
Pardon?
They said, don't go outside. So it wasn't Spokane, he said, stay in the house.
That's,
Let it run through your HVAC system, I guess.
well, I know my grandson, he didn't do real good, but he must, they say doesn't have, asthma, but boy, does he plug up.
Well, that's the same with me, they said I had sports-induced asthma, but the more I did in athletics, the better I felt. But it wasn't sinuses. So, Joanne left?
Girlfriend, and couldn't convince her to move up here, so we moved down to her in the cities. Yep, moved Saturday.
Raise something up right now, instead of that chance.
I believe the new full-time deal on it, or that they've hired, who starts in a couple of weeks before they're back. I guess it's she, I believe she's out of Louisiana. So we'll see how that, well, it'll make some difference if she's from New Orleans or if she's from rural northern Louisiana.
We haven't had necessarily the best luck.
Which is why it was nice to have Joanne around as just kind of a foundation. And
Yeah, he filled in most of the time. Ken finally retired, so.
yeah. No, Joanne was almost sad at Joanne's kind of farewell party, you know, that we kind of had because Ken was there, Kate was there, Mark, the old designer, Marcino was there. It was the original staff that we had when we were fully staffed and everything was, you know, no turnover. That crowd was there like, why isn't this still?
Yeah, most of those people are still there, are still there.
Yeah, are still around. But, the Hazen Star hasn't had, you know, any turnover in our office since I've been there. The three of us that were there when we started, there's still the three of us who are there now.
Haven't chased anybody.
But yeah, the new office is Did you, do have a city commission
what you just go eat?
Hmm? Just got them root beer barrels there.
Yeah?
I usually gotta help myself to one. I'm not gonna say the word steal, but,
No, they're handed out, so. On a platter.
the same for the 50th time that you showed me. Thank you. Okay, we can reconvene. We got some preliminary numbers in front of us. It shows an increase of 2 mills, 2.04 actually. Which I had to ask Shanna again real quickly, how to calculate. Of the general fund, yeah. With the numbers that I requested, I guess. I don't have to say it that way. And that would reflect about a $90 increase on a $100,000 taxable value home. Did I say $90?
You
I
did.
hope I did. Hard telling what I said. Anyway, I think we should start with this and then see where we get, what, by October? October 10th.
Just absorbing here.
They're absorbing.
Okay.
While you're absorbing, do you mind if I ask a question?
Go ahead.
I'll just keep two simple questions that I got here. One's a statement, one's a question, because I've stated my argument already. On page 10, Shannon, for the roads, the third column over the bottom, there's a negative number 534,742. What does that represent? Tell me, what does that, negative for the year, what does it mean?
That's what it calculates the mill levy off of.
That's correct. I knew that too, but I forgot that. Nice answer. All right, thank you. I knew that. Forgot. Thanks for, like you said, the 50th time, Jim.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just glad Shanna doesn't get too upset with me asking her 50th time.
Well, to get us moving, I'll, move to approve the preliminary budget, with this most recent update.
I will second.
Just a minute. I guess I asked, but I wasn't ready. Any more discussion?
One thing I'd like to add, very briefly. The amount in reserve is 857,000. I believe 838,514 of that is for non-normal revenue that came from the CARES money. That's
Okay.
all I'm saying.
Okay. Any other? Hearing none. Travis?
Aye.
Liza?
Aye.
Marvin?
No.
Wayne?
Aye.
Gene, aye. Now I got a preliminary budget. Something we can get started with, and anything else?
I just have one question. Do we have to tell you if we're going to the, conference in October, the NACO? Or are we automatically, because we're new?
No, you need to register,
Okay,
but I booked everybody rooms, so when I booked just a block at the Ramaphosa and a block at the Radisson, so like 2 weeks before conference, I will ask you guys if you want a room or not, and then I'll call down there and assign your names.
okay.
So just register on your own.
Oh,
And
okay.
then when you register, just pick direct bill to Mercer County. And, I got your rooms taken care of, so.
Okay.
If I can only go Monday, Tuesday, is there anything I need to do different with my registration or not?
Nope, I don't believe so.
Okay,
It should break it down which days you plan on attending,
okay.
so. So that, and they do that for meal preparation, because they usually do it in social hours Sunday night with
Yep.
hors d'oeuvres.
Yeah,
So-
that's what Jeff had said when he was here.
Yeah, so just when you fill out registration. that's
Just
all
make
I
sure
need
to
know.
indicate those 2 days. Okay.
Glad I asked.
You'll have,
Yeah.
I can you register me?
You want me to register you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's,
It's not in his area.
because they ask a lot more than you need to ask.
I just wanna know if you still want those gift cards.
Oh, well, I'm doing pretty good without them, really.
The little joke on that is I got an email from Wayne Enzi requesting 3 $200 gift cards.
Yeah.
I also got from another Beulah resident the exact same request.
Email request.
Yep.
I got mine from
Okay.
Perlman.
Yeah. So
Yep.
I got mine
That's-
from Dean and from Wayne.
if you're in any doubt, just grab the phone and give me a jingle.
Wow.
Just phone me.
Okay, anything else? Meeting adjourned.
Isn't that something?
I know, why you gotta be so.
My wife texted me over lunch, she got a $3 bill on her, $43.94.
They know that I want to slam on it.